some beers. Let's drink them, huh?
If you really want some film at 11, why don't you follow me down to the brewery? I'll tie a bowling ball to my ankle, dive in the vat of beer. I'll leave this world the same way I entered my marriage, dead drunk.
Hello.
Want a beer?
Hook it up.
Hey, hook me up.
Y'all heard, take it from the top. 1, 2.
Beer?
This is how we do it.
My mic sound nice, check 1. My mic sound nice, check 2. My mic sound nice, check 3.
Are you ready?
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
You like parties? Yeah. We can invite all our friends and have soda and pie.
Yeah!
I hope no bad people show up.
My mic sounds nice, check 1. My mic sounds nice, check 2. My mic sounds nice, check 3. My mic sounds nice, check 4. My mic sounds nice, check 5. My mic sounds nice, check 6.
Are you ready?
You want some of this milk?
I'd rather have a beer.
What do you guys give me if I kill that bird? Barbara, that's a bald eagle. Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
Oh, well, good evening. Good evening, good evening. This is the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com. I can't hear out of my right ear, so let's get right into it right now. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We are live right now on GovsRadio.com. Also on our Facebook page, Govs Radio Channel, our YouTube page, Govs Radio Channel. All replays and everything will be available the upcoming week on the Hopped Up Network, on iTunes, on Spotify, and all the places where you can find your awesome podcast. Also, of course, on the Hopped Up Network, the global podcast network of all things beer. Check them out, hoppedupnetwork.com. Let's get into some sponsors right the fuck now. Tonight, we are sponsored by Brewbag. My man, Pots and Pans, giving us the Brewbag set. We've been posting all the last few weeks. We've had a lot of good experiences with the Brewbag. We're talking beer pong cornhole, guys. Beer pong cornhole. So much fun. Good times. Backyard games. Hashtag yard games. And check them out, brewbag.com. If you want a discounted version of your Brewbag, go on to our Instagram. And in our bio, there's a link in our bio to a discounted version of the Brewbag. Go ahead and click on that, and you will get, I think it's like 10% off your order. So check it out, brewbag.com. Scott, you the man, Scott. We really appreciate it. Yes. We are also tonight sponsored by VintageBeerClubShirt.com. VintageBeerClubShirt.com for all your vintage beer shirt needs. Great shirts that they have there. We went into a little bit of that over the last few weeks. Had some great experiences with the shirts. Sent them out to our girls from last week or 2 weeks ago. Basic Girl Beer Review, Brew Review. They loved them. Sent the Cardinal one to St. Louis, and I knew she would love it. Sent, there's Lee. What up, buddy? And then sent the Pacific one out to the Kakalaka down there, and had a great time with them. So sent them. Thank you, VintageCraftBeerShirts.com. Club VintageBeerShirtClub.com. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Stevie. Take it away with Rosie's Draft Solutions.
Got Rosie's Draft Solutions. They are a family-owned, run and owned draft beer servicer and installer. You have a professional restaurant, bar, brewery. They will come clean your lines to the American Brewers Association certification. They will also, if you need a system put in, they will install them. And you home brewers out there, if you're looking for a kegerator, or if you have a kegerator, they will service that. They'll get it up, running, freaking clean as can be, so that beer tastes wonderful. And if you don't have one, they will get you one and set it up in your place. Along, if you want to do a little social distancing, a little party, they do have jockey boxes that they can set up for you, that you can rent for any parties. And again, that's rosiesdraftsolution.com. You can reach them at. And Nick is the man you want to talk to.
And tell them the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve sent you, and you're going to receive 10% off your service order. I think there's even a percentage off your hardware order. So give them a try there, rosiesdraftsolutions.com. Last few ones here. Let's wrap it up. We have, of course, Tavor, beer shipped right to your door. Go to Tavor.com, type in the promo code WORT, W-O-R-T, and get a percentage off your order. We're also sponsored by Brewers Hardware. Thank you very much, Brewers Hardware, for everything that you do for the industry and everything that you gave to us that we give directly back to our brewer guests along the way. Go to Brewers Hardware for all your large capacity or small home brewing needs. brewershardware.com. I wish we were sponsored by Dog Treats right now because that is a awesome dog. Let's get Paul.
Oh, look at that good boy.
Yes. And we are finally also sponsored by taphandles.com. Go to taphandles.com for your custom-made tap handles. I'm a little shout-out to a little Jeff Hartwell over at Hartwell Woodshop in the heart of Patchogue, Long Island. And tonight, we are excited because we have lots of things that we did over the last few days and or few weeks that we want to bring to you guys and your audience. But first, let me introduce who we got going on today in our virtual studio. Down below to my bottom left in the Brady Bunch rules, I think they would be, who's the girl? Who's the Jan? It'd be Jan. Jan, it is Dave. Dave from The Craft, a Rhode Island craft beer film that is out on, I believe it's on Amazon and all the, I guess, pay-as-you-go or pay-per-view level streaming services, right? Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
And we're going to talk a lot about your experiences with what was going on during the filming. And then right before the show started, you said you're considering the pre-production of the sequel. So that's going to be interesting. And so much probably has happened even since you filmed it that now it's a whole new film. So
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd be talking to Dave. And then, of course, our man Lee that we spent the weekend with. What's going on, buddy?
Brew some beer, buddy.
Yeah.
It's beer, right?
It was awesome. So Lee from Hopsters up in the seaport of Boston, but also they have a production facility in, I'm going to say Newton, but people do say Newtown, which doesn't make any sense. But it's Newton.
Newton, Newton, Mass.
Newton,
It's
Mass.
the home of the Big Newton.
Yeah, there you go. It is. It really is, right?
Yeah, no shit, right?
I prefer the raspberry ones. They're delicious.
They are the better one. Strawberry's good too. Don't forget about strawberry. But Lee's going to kind of talk about, as well as we will, our experience with our brewing session that we had this past weekend, as well as all the beers that Hopsters offers and makes, the brew pub, the whole kit and caboodle we're going to go over. So, Lee, thanks a lot for spending some time with us. And I know you got to get out of here because, we all probably want to get out of here. Although for Pete, it's an escape. For me, if you saw during the intro, my daughter came down and automatically is asking me to go do stuff, and I go, you know better. There's a 2-hour window. You leave me the
You think they would know better?
No, they would not.
Yet they never do.
It doesn't matter to them. This is insignificant to them. It means nothing. And
it depends how much time Rocky gives me.
That's true. Well, I would love it to rub a little whiskey on their gums so they get on my level for a few minutes, and then we can start talking like real talk. Just light a fire and have some real conversations.
There you go.
So Lee, while I quickly walk away and just beat my children, give us a little background on the entire Hopsters, story, the history here, because even on the can that I took home today, I had it before when I held it up. It gave a brief history of kind of where it all started and what your goals and focuses are. Give us a little bit of background about the brewery and tell us all the good stuff that goes along with that, because we have a lot of great, interesting factoids to go along with that.
Okay, as long as if I talk too much, you're going to cut me off, okay?
Listen, what's great about the Zoom is you'll just keep talking. You'll never know we even started talking.
Oh,
and it's so easy to stumble on each other on this. It's hysterical, but we'll try our best.
Yeah. So, absolutely. I'm from England. I was, brew my own, I go to England, brew these great, English bitters and whatnot. And, I found these places where you can brew your own beer, they were big in Canada and big in, even in Massachusetts. You could brew your own beer. You could brew 6 cases of your own beer. And you could do it in it was kind of big in the 90s when craft beer was kind of,
in its infancy.
Starting.
Absolutely. So, so what basically, I saw these places where you could brew your own beer. And I said, listen, wouldn't it be great if you could go brew your own beer, but you could also actually drink beer and you can eat food and all that great stuff, right? So,
Yep, we did all those. Check those boxes off. Yep.
exactly. Right? 'Cause, and so exactly. So basically, that's how Hopses started. We started in 2013. I was basically like, well, do I want to open up a brewery? No, because everyone's doing that in 2013. Little did I know, but a lot more people doing that in 14 and 15. But ultimately, we started in 2013. You could come in, you could brew your own beer, you could eat, you could drink, and we were rocking. And it was a fun experience. We were all about how do you brew beer, because people are like getting this beer is great, this beer is not great. So it's like, well, we can basically open up a location where people can brew beer and experience that and learn about brewing beer and what yeast does and malt. And so, 40,000, people later, and 7 years later, here we are, still brewing beer for people. And so that's kind of like, so we didn't open up a pure brewery. We didn't open up a brew pub. We opened up a place where you could brew beer and drink and eat. But that was the goal for us. And we did great, ultimately,
So I want to give a quick shout out to your guy, Henry, who really is an excellent informational resource for everything along the way. He really was very explanatory in all of the steps as we go along. I know, Steve, obviously as a brewer, Steve, you're like, I know. But for Pete and I, it was interesting to just watch him go through it and talk about it. The bigger thing to me, which was very interesting, and, I know the boil and I know all that stuff, but all the exchanges, because that is always something that's lost on people, is moving it from one tank to another, moving it from a fermentation tank to a bright tank or back and forth or whatever it is. So, I mean, that was the interesting part, because that's where a lot of like the machinery, the electronics, the piping, that stuff that kind of, doesn't sit with people. They just see, the glamorous pouring of the grain, if that's really glamorous, or the adding of the dry hop.
Yeah, absolutely. That was what's great about hops, is like you could come in, and whether you're a beer critic or you're Untapped or whatever it is, come in and like figure out how to brew beer.
Yeah.
You can't be a beer critic but not know how beer's made.
Educate.
Well, I think you can. Those are the worst ones.
Yes.
Right?
No, they exist. Yeah. They shouldn't exist, but they do.
And so we have people come in and like, oh, I want to brew a New England IPA. Do you know how hard it is to brew a New England IPA? Like, you just can't come in and do that, right? And
do you know how hard it is to brew a good New England IPA?
Well, yeah.
Anyone can do it. And we could just take a reservation. It's the holding that matters.
The holding.
Yeah.
It'd be willy-nilly.
Yeah. The cool thing was the way it's set up, and for people that have not been there or want to go online and check it out. So when you walk in, the front of the part, you have your bar, you have your restaurant tables. Obviously, it looks a little different now in the COVID era. But, I mean, it looked like a traditional nice bar, craft bar with your restaurant. And then once you go up the stairs, shit gets real, because then you have the entire brewing area. You have your ingredient area, you have your malting area, then you have your brewing area. And that's where, I think definitely separates you out. I know when we first found out about you, it was because Steve ate there. Just randomly, and went, what the hell's going on up there? So tell us, I mean, you did everything at once. You wanted to do the brewery, the brew pub, and the self-brewing process all at one time?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's great about the Hops' experience is, because what we want to do is the whole mission of Hops was to create the craft beer experience where you could understand what it means to make beer.
Right.
So like we said, there's a lot of people like, oh, this beer is malty, this beer is hoppy. Well, we had people coming in who love craft beer, but they were like, they've never seen hops before. So they're like, oh, what's that, rabbit food? Like, no, that's a hop. And so we would be like, okay, so smell this hop. This is a grassy, English, Fuggles beer that is great in a bitter or great in a stout. And then try these hops. This is a hop that's aromatic, it's mosaic, it's craft, it's Citra, and that's a beer that you would, put in a New England style IPA or a, citrusy IPA. So it's really nice to be able to like have that experience with people so that they actually knew what went into brewing beer. Because when I started, I'm like, I'm an Englishman. I got into home brewing because I wanted to brew beer that I like to drink, and I was living in the United States. But people like
I lived here.
Drink
Of
beer
course I'm
every
gonna
day.
brew.
They don't know what goes into it, right? How crazy is that? And that's something that I experienced too. Like I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'm like, what the fuck? Like I'm like, I drink beer every day. Do I know how it's made? Absolutely not. Do I know what goes into it? No, but I drink it every day. That's kind of crazy, right? Come on. And that's why we open hopsters to give people that experience of what goes into the beer.
And
I'll tell you what was.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'm sorry, Wayne.
Okay.
What was pretty good, cool with it, and we saw all the people that were waiting to go up and do their brew session. What was great was you were able to sit, have something to eat. Food was really, food was great. Really,
dude, that roasted cauliflower, I didn't even realize what we were ordering. I think you guys ordered the roasted cauliflower. I didn't order it. You ordered it, and I tasted it. I went, what the hell is this? Where'd this come from? And by the way, had roasted cauliflower tonight because I wanted it again.
There you go.
and while we're there eating, then we were obviously trying the different beers that you guys brew at the other facility. Mm-hmm. So, the overall experience and the staff was, from the first few people that we met, from Chelsea and then meeting yourself and Henry and our waitress. What a great experience, man. You really hit on something that I hope a lot more people hear this and they'll show up because it's a great time.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect idea for like a bachelor party. Go up there, do make a beer or two and then serve them at the wedding or something. It seems like
you think it with your head
before the debauchery. It seems like a perfect stop.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people right now with the debauchery, right? So we get emails every day like, "Hey, I want to come in. I got 40 guys coming in. We're gonna brew beer." I'm like, "Hey, hold the phone." Right? Yeah, like
better
COVID.
Slim that down.
You can't do that right now. You know what I mean? So, but prior to COVID, yeah, we do corporate events. We do like a bunch of guys coming in. They wanted to brew beer for the bachelor party. They're like, "Hey, I'm getting married up in Maine, and I want to brew my beer for the." I'm a home brewer, but my wife won't let me brew that much beer in the kitchen.
Or technically we couldn't do any of that here without one of those, 3-tank systems with the natural gas burner and all that. There's no way we'd have the supply and the space in our homes. So it actually is just really nice that Steve might, but you do. I saw it outside. It's not fully together, but it's out there.
It's out there.
But that's it. My biggest thing was the amount of possible recipes that you can choose from, Lee. That was really cool because, we were looking through after we talked about this a few weeks ago and we wanted to do it. It was actually hard to kind of settle on the recipes we did because there were so many and we like so many of the styles that you offer. Where did these recipes kind of come from? How did you get that book, that magical Bible that just opens up and tells you everything?
No, well, that's the secret sauce right there, right? So you know what I'm saying. But ultimately, absolutely, yeah. So there's a lot of people like you guys. You came in and you guys knew what you wanted to brew. You were very like, this is what I want to do. This is what I wanted to say. Yeah.
That's all, Steve.
We brought our hops.
We brought our own hops.
Steve, Steve was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I wanted to taste like. So we get a lot of people like Steve, but we also get a lot of people who have never brewed beer before, right? So, basically our mantra is, come in, we've got 30 recipes. You want a New England style IPA? You want a West Coast IPA? You want a brown ale? You want to, whatever you want to do. Like, we have the recipes.
I like that the recipes range from like your basic type of beer, like a blonde, to bourbon, bourbon aged stouts, to the Belgian styles, doubles, triples, and even a quad.
Black
I
IPA.
thought a black IPA, which is
I love black
not
IPAs.
the most well-known style.
No, but I love them.
So I thought it was really cool. There's plenty of
What happened to
options
black
for every
IPA?
palate.
Let's bring back the black IPA.
Lee, I had to
Come
fight
on.
them. I had to fight them hard to try to get it. I did not win, but the two we settled on, I wouldn't say settled. The two we all agreed on were really good.
Yeah.
I'm happy with what we ended up doing. We'll
But that's
make
the
big
great thing
announcements
about
later.
what we do, right? But that's the great thing about what we do. So, like, if we have somebody like Steve who knows beer, but like Steve, like you guys brought your own hops. You had an idea of what you wanted to brew, and that's great. We love that. There's a lot of people that don't know any, they're like, listen, I'll come in, my girlfriend knew I love beer and she bought me this gift card. So I'm coming in to brew beer and so, we'll create a recipe. The only thing that we say, and this is something important for you guys, right? If you go off the recipe, if you go off the reservation, like Steve did, we can't guarantee what that's going to taste like. All right? We know what it's going to taste like if you stick to our recipes.
Steve actually did the hard research on finding the exact amounts that would go well with other recipes he's had. So I'm going to put my confidence at least in the hop amount for the American wheat that we did. Other than that, the Oktoberfest we left as is. So we should be pretty solid with that. And we're excited for the both styles. One, we all really do like American wheats. We kind of have our influences from Three Floyds that we had, the gumball, the American wheat, which was delicious. And then we all do enjoy actually Sam Oktoberfest in one form or another, and many other Oktoberfests as well. So besides that, it's just been one of those easy ones that we're like, by the time it's done, it's going to be September, late September. We will definitely want to have Oktoberfest coming in
Except
October.
for that one we had later in the night. And
I think that just validates the reason for never having an Oktoberfest prior to Labor Day.
Good call.
That just settles that.
Yeah, we had a bad experience, Lee. And Dave, I don't know if you had this, but we went into a restaurant in the city. Wasn't yours, Lee. And had dinner after we had lunch at Hopsters. And we all ordered an Oktoberfest after brewing the Oktoberfest. And none of us were all too happy with that. And it's a well-known brewery. It's not like one of those rinky-dink, 3-barrel system microbrews. No, this was a really well-known name, and we were not too thrilled with it.
And it cost an arm and a leg for it, which was
for no reason.
Yeah,
for a
$10 for a can.
Yeah.
Yeah, no comment on that.
Yeah, I don't think it was from your state, but hold on, I could check. I forget.
I guess
I
it's
think they're
probably
from
not.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, it is from Mass. You're right.
Yeah, I don't think there's a ton of Oktoberfests that have been done yet in Rhode Island, as far as I know. There's been a couple, but none of them cost $10, and and they're all pretty good. And but I'm also a fan of it's almost like a rite of spring, even though it's fall, I guess, of having a Sam Oktoberfest. Whenever the season rolls around, it's. I haven't been drinking as much Sam lately, but that is one that once it comes around, I grab one.
Yeah, you
Sure.
gotta.
I look forward to that all year, man.
Yep.
I love their Oktoberfest. It's
Absolutely
malty and delicious.
Yeah, I'm actually just reading Jim Cook's book with Quench Your Thirst. So just started reading it a few days ago. So
I wish he did the audio version of it, like an audio book of it. Like, hi.
Oh, there is one. There's
He
one
does
on.
it?
There
Oh
is
my
one
God.
available. I like to actually hold the books, but yeah, and he reads it, by the way,
Yes,
too.
I want
So,
him to read it. That's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
His voice could put me right to sleep.
Exactly,
Like, it's
yes.
so soothing. He's so interesting, though, and maybe I'll get a chance to meet him someday. Who knows?
Lee, you guys have a very good spot in a nice area. We really enjoyed the entire Seaport District in Boston. I haven't spent too much time there in the last few years. It's really gotten built up. It's even more so now. A lot of new retail, a lot of new residential. So you really have a good thing going, but you do have a big rival in Trillium within.
Never heard of him.
Who's those people? So I want to get to the because I'm going to crack open the IPA from Hopsters. I want to get to the story that's on the can because it says you pride yourself on your New England. How do you? And obviously, you're going to be very, very loyal to your brand. But how did that experience go when Trillium opened up in Fort Point, and now you had a big boy to kind of bout with at this point?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and it, it's hard. Trillium, one of the, I know those guys, right? Esther and those guys, they're great people, and they produce a great product, and we opened them in the Seaport. The Seaport was almost, because those guys opened up a location, in Fort Point in the Seaport back in 2013, and it was basically just, you could go and get growler fills, but you couldn't sit there, you couldn't drink, and then they opened up, their brewery in Canton, and then they opened up their place next to us, and you know what I mean? It's like, all, rising tides,
That's true.
raise all boats. You know what I mean? It's hard because you got the Trillium effect, right? Because, you get a lot of, I don't know if I can drop an F-bomb here, but you got Starfuckers, right? And, like Trillium is this and this. But we got Treehouse too, we got Treehouse, and then we've got, Alchemist and all those people, right? So there is a gravitas for craft beer aficionados. They want to go to Treehouse, they want to go to Trillium, and they
want to try the other breweries that are in the area.
That is true.
Which is good for those those guys that are starting out, or for everyone there, just for the guys that always want to try something new. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have Harpoon. They're also there. Harpoon were there before everybody, right?
Yep.
So
we visited them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's come one, come all, and I love those guys. They are, that's the Trillium effect. You're not gonna, you can't fight that. I mean, like it's.
And they're not going to, and especially now, they can't retain people for more than an hour or two. So what do you do with the other 14 hours of your day? You go to the next one and you make a reservation at Harpoon, and then you go over to dinner, and then you go back over to Hopsters, and then you kind of.
It is true, and we see people like we see people walking down Seaport Boulevard with 2 cases of freaking they're doing IPAs, and it's great, and they're doing great stuff, and but you know what, it's like anything, there's enough for everybody, and those guys are great, and they're awesome, and we've been doing, we've been on Newtonian, we've brewing up here for 4 or 5 years,
boom,
and we spend a lot, absolutely. And we spend a lot of time on the water chemistry, on the hops, on the double dry hopping, and every day it's, how can we master that beer? And it's hard, every day we got to get better with that double dry hop doing an IPA.
And one of the things it says right on the can, like I was mentioning before, is you continually experiment with new hop flavors to brew the freshest, most accessible New England. You don't brew in huge batches. You brew in smaller batches so it stays fresh, sells out. You got a new one 2 weeks later, ready to go. So it's always
we
fresh.
dropped absolutely. We dropped off. We dropped off Newtonian to our distributor today, just to pallet it. We brew it, we can it, and they pick it up because what's going on obviously now with COVID, right? So our distributors don't want to hold a significant amount of inventory, right? So we have to brew it. They pick it up and they take it, and we're not making, it's like anything, it's a labor of love, and double dry hop. We got Citra contracts, we got Mosaic contracts, and when obviously at the brew pub, we sell a pint of Newtonian at the brew pub, and that's we get $8. We sell a can to the 4-pack to the distributor, and we get $6, right? So but we've had to move over to distribution because obviously the 2 brew pubs in Newton and in the Seaport, we're doing 20% of sales that we did pre-COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were doing like, $80,000 a week in beer sales in the Seaport. And now we're doing like maybe, 4,000, right? So we had to switch.
That's crazy, yeah.
We're just doing what we have to do to survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but luckily we have a canning machine and we can it and it's fresh, and we send it out and and sometimes the canning machine goes down and like today, we
always goes down. That's what we've come to grips with. It's inevitably going down that day.
Oh my God, yeah. So like literally like today, like we were canning 2 pallets, a pallet of Newtonian and a pallet of Juicy Fruit. And we're having problems with the canning line, and so we have to shut it down. And we said to the distributor, you got to come in a couple of days because like we're down and we want to make sure the beer is great. But as a small craft brewer, that's the kind of things you have to deal with, every day. I don't think people get that. You go to the liquor store and there's the 4-pack. As a craft brewer, you don't see all the challenges that go into creating that 4-pack.
How much of that was actually involved in on the sweat and the heartbreak and the raking of grain out and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
That brings me to a good question because you mentioned Newton a few times. Let's talk about that facility because we saw the Seaport facility. Give us a little overview of what the Newton facility looks like. What do you guys have for equipment in there? How are you guys work in a tasting room or a brew pub section there? What is it all made up of?
So basically, we have a 10-barrel system in Newton, and so pre-COVID, we would produce $30,000 worth of beer a week that would get sent down to Seaport. People would drink it at $8 a pint, and then COVID happened, and we shut down completely. But what we did, we had a canning line, and so we pivoted. That's the famous word, right? Pivot.
Yep.
That's all pivot,
Everybody
right?
was pivoting. Like
We're
a
pivoting.
basketball player in the
yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then the SLA shuts down some of the guys that were traveling.
Yeah. Come back down.
So, we're lucky. We had a couple of years ago, I dropped $60,000 on this little 3-head canning machine, right? You can't believe the thing's $60,000. Like you look at it, you're like, really? That's $60,000? Like what the hell? But yeah, that's what it is. So we've been basically brewing beer, double dry hop Newtonian. We have a Comet Citra, Comet Mosaic, and we have our Juicy Fruit. And basically what we do is, we brew the beer, we can it, and we send it off to the distributor. 10-barrel system. But, we were dropping $80,000 a week in beer sales. We're doing
That's a big hit. That's a big hit.
Oh yeah. We're doing maybe 5 or 6 now,
Mm-hmm.
So, because nobody's going to bars right now, right?
Right.
So, and every brewery had a tap room. That's what they were counting on when they, hey, go to the bank. You're like, hey, give me $200,000. Sure, we'll give you $200,000, and that's what you got to pay every month back. That $200,000 is based on you selling $30,000 a week,
right.
in your spot, right? So now but now we're okay, we're brewing beer, we're canning it, and we're sending off to the distributor.
And
but a 4-pack,
good.
Yeah, but a 4-pack of beer to the distributor is going to be, I get $15. But if I sell it, through the bar, then you're talking a lot more. So,
well, I will say this, and one of the experiences we all were talking about while being up there, I took beer to go, very well priced compared to some other places, we'll say.
You went to Trillium, did you?
Yeah, we did. Of course we did. We're beer whores, of course we did.
Yeah, of course.
And we took orders for people back home too. So yes, we did.
Oh, okay.
No, and then we went to a local bottle shop, actually a few of them, and we're just amazed that when you talk about some of the other brands that are out there that are sought after, they weren't trying to bang you over the head like a lot of the other ones are. So it fell in line to a very affordable range. Now, down here, I find there's more that are like that big boy. Plus, we're in New York, Long Island, very expensive place to live, blah, blah, blah. but it's almost like $20 a 4-pack is a commonality. There's only a very small minority that are not that. We were talking about that on the drive home, going, well, this place brews phenomenal beer, and I can find a 4-pack for $16. That's what you want, you know. So it's.
I'm heading down to Log Island right now. $20 a 4-pack.
Yeah,
let's go.
They got I'll mention it right now. Our boys over at Barrier, man. Barrier does phenomenal IPAs, well known overseas, everything. Just very affordable 4-packs, you know, and we were talking about
$10 for some of their stuff.
Yeah, it's a $10 Pilsner 4-pack.
$14 for their flagship IPA.
Yep, money. Yeah. And then they had a $4 Bomber. Was it Bomber or was it 22?
It was a 22 ounce.
22 Saison, $4.
Wax
sealed, and it was delicious. I mean, that's affordability when you talk about craft beer. And we saw a lot of that up by you, besides the one we all know we're talking about that would bang you over the head. And we went to Jack's Abbey on the way home, right? So Jack's Abbey is like the affordability of craft beer. I mean, $14 for a 6-pack of 16-ounce cans. It's like, what is this?
Yes. I mean, what people don't understand is when it comes to brewing a New England IPA, right? So, we're putting in Citra hops. We're putting in, like a bag of Citra hops is like a steak. It's like a $15. It's like prime. It's buying a prime steak for a pound of Citra hops. It's $15, and we have a contract, so like we get it to best value. But one thing that people don't realize, when you're doing a double dry hop beer, and you're getting, the New England, London Ale 3 yeast, that's for us, that's expensive. I mean, people don't realize when you're double dry hopping a beer. Not like I could make you a brown ale tomorrow. I could give you that $5 a pint. We could do it in 5. We could do it in 7 days. Nice English style malt. Maris Otter. It'd be great. You get a nice Fuggles. That would cost me like, yeah, exactly right. That would cost me like next to nothing. But if you want a double dry hop New England IPA that's got the pillowy mouthfeel, we're putting in so much chemicals into the water.
All the flaked wheat.
Say that again?
All the flaked wheat.
The flaked. It's the hops. The hops are gonna kill you. Yeah. It's so expensive. It's
and they have to contract that out. I mean, you gotta pretty much request that months out in order to keep years years out, right? And then you have to buy that amount. Then if you say I need 40 let's say 40 pounds or even a ton of it, you're gonna have to get that. You can't back down on that at that point. So.
So basically, we have like a hop contract. So we got last year we got from PSG, we got I think we got something like $40,000 worth of Citra, right?
Jesus.
And we figured we'd get through that Citra.
A lot of Citra.
A lot of Citra. $15 a pound. It's like $40,000, and that's a contract. So they buy that. But if you don't use that, they start charging you to hold that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's so.
Well, because they think they could just sell it to somebody else if you're not going to use it, so they're going to give you that real estate for the holding, knowing that you're going to use it because you don't want to give it up.
Exactly. And so maybe we'll get lucky, and obviously COVID, so we weren't brewing as much beer. So we've got all this Citra, and maybe we can sell it on the the open market come September time. Mm-hmm. September, October, when everyone can't get their hands on it. But the same with Mosaic, you know what I mean? So basically so we got a big hop contract last year. We had a bunch of it left over, so we were able to sell it on the open market and get our money back, right? But with COVID right now, I don't know what's, I got 2,000 pounds worth of, Citra. So what are we going to do with that come, the end of the year?
And are enough people
going to start charging you for holding it for them?
Are there enough people in around the area, the local area, that could use it or how big are their contracts. So it all, I guess it depends regionally too. You don't want to have to then ship it yourself to Florida. I mean, that would cost you an arm and a leg as well, and you're not going to get
But
your money
I know you guys love to home brew, so I'm happy to sell Steve. Steve, you got 150 grand. I'll drop you 1,000 pounds worth of Citra tomorrow.
Fill his garage of Citra. I know Dave's got an unfinished basement. He could really store it down there.
Yeah. I think we could. Lee, maybe you can send some to the southern part of Rhode Island. I think I'll
put it right on the treadmill. It'd be good.
Yeah, that's right. I'll put it on the treadmill I don't use, and I'll have to take out a home equity line to pay for it. But that's okay.
You can borrow it against your house, and then you could locally sell it to other home brewers, and now we got like a black market for Citra.
There we go. I think that's exactly what we should do.
And then we'll all get busted by the federal government for shipping over state lines and doing all the illegal things of flowering without contracts. That'd be crazy. Lee, the interesting part about that is, you had 10 barrels. You have, like I said, it's a relatively small system compared to some of the big boys up there. So you guys are turning and burning. What else besides that Newtonian, the New England I'm drinking, by the way, delicious. Definitely feel the mango and the grapefruit, which is awesome. What else is locked into you? Or my video died, so I'll get that back up. But what else is in your repertoire right now that you guys are brewing over and over and over again that's becoming a big seller? What are those big sellers for you?
Great question. Well, I talk to my distributors every day, and I'm like, guys, I got this idea. I got this Pilsner that I want to sell to you. I got this, I got this great, brown ale. They're like, Lee, nobody under the age of 32 wants to drink anything but a freaking New England style IPA.
It's true.
So, Craft Brewers Guild, our distributors, love them to death. They're great guys. We're all fighting right now. And, but they're not going to take anything from me but a New England style IPA.
Okay.
They're like, Lee, forget about it. So we've got to be creative within that brand, right? So right now, what we're sending out is we got something called what the hell is this beer called now that we got? I remember it, but it's basically a New Zealand style New England IPA.
Okay.
Called Kiora. It's called Kiora. And in Maori, I don't know if you guys know Maori. I'm sure you do.
I know a band that sings in Maori.
But in Maori, Kiora means be well. So we have a New England style IPA that's done with hops from that part of the world. And but they're saying to me, to my salespeople, like, listen, we will take that beer from you. It's a New England style IPA. Given it's a New Zealand New England style IPA. I'd say we'll take that, but you have to sell that first. So you have to go and get pre-sales.
Right.
So the distributors like, Lee, we will take that. We will buy that from you. Not a problem. We'll take a pallet of that. We'll take 72 cases, but you have to pre-sell 20 cases right now, and we're not going to take it. So
is that a typical deal that the distributors do? Is that something that you would hear often, or is that just
for the small guys like us? Because like Allagash is like, Allagash is like, oh yeah, we got this. Oh, we'll take it. We love you guys, right? But for the small guys like me, right, we got to play. We got to play the game. So I said to them, I'm like, listen, we got a Kiora. It's an amazing, New Zealand style New England IPA. But we got to pre-sell, so we got to pre-sell 20 cases, and they'll take 72. So that's kind of where we are right now, with that piece.
And is that easy to do? Have you done that before? Is that going to be a tough sell, or is that something that you think will just go right out? Not because of the beer or anything, but just because of what it is.
Well, it's all about the relationships in the micro market, right? So in East Boston, people know us. I got my girl; she's like banging out every day. She's visiting like 20 accounts a day.
Nice.
And she's like, hey, I got Kiora. It's, you're going to love it. These great New Zealand hops. We're going to get it out to you. So buy a case. They're like, okay, we'll take a case. So then she's like, listen, I got 20 cases. So you got to have a salesperson, right?
Good.
So she'll go out there and sell it. But like a lot of small breweries, they don't have a full-time salesperson,
right.
So, and, but they'll take it. It's all about relationships right now. It's almost, But the thing is, If it's not a New England style, double IPA, hop bomb, pillowy mouthfeel, it's hard to sell it. So everyone's going after the New England IPA.
Now, if you had your choice, like you had a say in it, what other beer outside of those IPAs would you say would kill it if it wasn't such an IPA heavy industry right now?
Oh my God! So I'm an Englishman. I was born in England. I'm from the north.
Yeah.
Never thought that, right? So I have spent 6 years, with my brewers, homing in. It's called Englishman. It's a English bitter. It's an English pale ale, and we've spent so much time with the water chemistry, with the malts, just dialing that down for me. Because if I'm going to open up a brewery, right, I'm like, I want the beer that I want to drink. At least.
Would you your water chemistry? Were you trying to go for like a Burton style or?
Exactly. Yeah.
Go.
That's not easy. Yeah, of course.
Nice, brother.
Right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nerding out the two
dry,
of you.
It's dry. It's metallic. It's it's
and that beautiful malty backbone.
Oh yeah, and the great thing is you can drink 9 pints and still walk home. It's great. And those are English pints.
Yes.
These are not 16-ounce pints.
No.
22 ounce.
22 ounce pints. Yeah.
22 ounces.
Served relatively warm room temperature.
55 degrees.
All right. So a little.
So I do not like my rooms to be 55 degrees.
Our hotel room was pretty close to it. I will say that. Our hotel room this past weekend, it was 64. It was pretty cold.
Even
but yes, you're right.
Colder, right, Pete?
You don't like sleeping in a meat locker?
Both you guys stole the blankets, dicks. I had the sheets, and I had to put a pillow on my head to conserve heat.
I had Pete slept on the floor, literally, and
that was it.
I knew what I had to do.
Yeah, we did what we had to do. Good thing we had enough drinks in us during our Hopsters visit, even before we went out to dinner. One of the ones I really did like, by the way, and I want to talk to you about that, Lee. I'm been into sours now for about a year. Mm-hmm. The sour you guys had on tap there this past weekend, delicious. It had that cherry red feel. It was a hoppy. It was a sour amber, correct?
That's right. And I am a big Flanders red ale guy. I love sours. Flanders, yep. I just want to be shutting them out, excuse the pun. But and so there's obviously breweries. You got two sours, right? You've got the kettle sours, right? So we on a Friday we go to CVS, we get the probiotics, we brew the beer. We love CVS. It's got everything.
It's got everything you need.
It's got everything. So we get CVS, we get the probiotics, and we leave it in the kettle for 2-3 days, and that shit stinks. That's so nasty.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so that's a kettle sour, and then of course, we've got our barrel aged sours. And so we have probably about 20 barrels right now in the basement.
Nice.
That we're gonna, it's we get a Flanders red, we get the bread in there, and it's just an amber ale. We throw the bread in, and we just leave it there for a year, and it gets all kind of funky and crazy. And some of it works and some of it doesn't. But that's the great thing about a craft beer, craft brew count. Craft. Yep. We brew it. We throw in the bread, we leave it there in the cellar for a year, and we see what comes out. And
I thought it was delicious, and I've had a lot.
If it was all repeatable and easy, you'd be Budweiser,
right?
So
true.
Yeah, and we throw a little extra couple of bucks. It's $10 for 8 ounces.
Well, because you're also storing it in your basement for a year, so you got the real estate, the time, the effort. Yeah, it makes sense, but it doesn't matter. I mean, in the end, if you're a sour person and you enjoy those, it was a good one. I mean, I don't think I've had a sour amber. I've had sour stout, believe it or not, from Bridge and Tunnel here in Queens. It was weird, but not bad. I've had all the fruited sours and the Berliner Weisses and the Goses, and I tend to enjoy them all as long as they're not like syrup. Other than that, they're pretty good. And that one was really good because it was something different, and I immediately jumped at it. That was the only beer I drank there when I was there, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Because I liked it so much the first time. Why fuck it up? Why?
Was it because it was 8% and
Yes, that as well. Yes. There were several other factors we won't mention right now as well. But yes, there was several things that went into my decision making, and that's why I did grab the IPA to go because I got to have an IPA from a place just to see where they stand. And I took it to go. I didn't drink it while I was up there because we had other things to do. But tonight, first night, crack it open, delicious, love it.
I'm loving that the Newtonians in Long Island. I mean,
yeah. I'll take some proper pictures for the Instagram. But for anyone that's looking, there it is. And if you have anybody in your distro that wants to ship some down here, I wouldn't mind picking up another 4-pack or 2.
We'll send it down. We have no problem.
My other question about the Newton facility. So it also has a brew pub in it.
It does, yeah. It does, yeah. So yeah. I mean,
same menu, same feel.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's, so we have the big fancy restaurant, brewery, brew your own beer in the Seaport, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's several $1 million restaurant in the Seaport, right? It's big money, rents $55 a square foot. It's crazy.
You're half a block away from the Charles River or whatever that is.
Yeah. It's, the 4 Point channel.
Yeah,
right?
It's the 4 Point channel, right?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say a block away from Trillium.
No. Well, I mean, literally, when you walk out, you can go up the street because it's an elevated street a little bit, and you can see the water. That's what we did. Yeah. We walked right down to the water. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I wanted to jump in, and they wouldn't let me.
No, I wouldn't let them.
No,
you're welcome, Steve.
As clean as it says that the Charles River is, and 4 Point, you could see the bottom, which was amazing, by the way. I said, "There's no way he's getting out of that, even at high tide. There's no way you're climbing out of there."
Well, all the water in your beer right now comes from that 4 Point channel, so I'm glad you're excited about it.
So, Steve, even though you didn't jump in, I'm drinking it now. So there you go.
There you go.
And we'll drink some more later.
There you go. So listen. So in Newton, we're 10 minutes from downtown Boston, but it's the brewery's it's $10 a square foot, right? So all the beer that we get there is brewed and we send it down to the brew pub in the Seaport. We're not going to spend, we're going to put in a huge brewery downtown. We're not Lord Hobo, those guys have got money down there, I hear, right?
They're not open yet, right? I mean, we passed it and it was closed. So what's the deal with that?
Yeah, we're hearing, we're they're coming, but I don't know. I mean,
I see no progress being made. That's what I'm
there's
into.
no progress.
Tough time to start major construction.
Yeah. So we brew all the beer in Newton, and Newton's it's a fairly well-to-do area, and and I don't know, we do well down there. We sell the beer. We
sell
we've been
it.
there for 7 years. We've been there for 7 years. We're selling.
Oh, all right. So so it's been a while.
Yeah.
Was that the original facility?
Yes, it was. Yeah, because we started off. Because listen, I did the math. I'm an older guy. I'm turning 50 next month. I got kids. I got to make money. You know what I mean? So I did the research back in 2013, and I'm like, oh, so if I open up a brewery, I'm like, I can make $30,000 a year. I'm like, I have kids. I have that in school. I can't, listen. I love you guys. I can't listen. I can't live on $30,000, $40,000 a year. I got a mortgage. I got shit, right? So I said, listen, why don't I open a restaurant where you can brew your own beer and you can buy, you can drink here and we rocked and roll. We did great for 4 or 5 years. We were just cranking
up until now. Fuck
yeah, well, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah. So, and we can talk about that. You can ask me any questions about COVID and how that's impacting the beer industry or what we're going through. But we did great, and and I was able to put, finance a family, because you can't, listen. If I'm 25 and I got no family and stuff. Yeah, you can live on 20 grand a year. You know what I mean? You live in your family's basement, whatever it is. But so when I did the numbers in 2013, how much am I going to make if I open up a brewery? And it wasn't looking good to me. It was like, I got to make a living, right? I mean, so the whole brew on premise, come in, brew beer, and we were cranking it to the point we were doing $3 million a year.
Wow.
Pre-COVID, in terms of coming in, doing corporate events, come in with your company, you can brew beer, you can do whatever, and
about how many barrels a year are you doing through the brew your own beer portion? Like how much?
So I mean, yeah, absolutely. So we did $3 million last year pre-COVID. We probably did $1 million in brew your own through COVID and stuff like that. So it was big. We've had we probably had 50,000 people over the last 7 years come in and brew their own beer.
That's cool.
And at $200 come and brew your own beer. I mean, it's good business.
Where are most of those people coming from? They all from Mass,
Long Island.
or a lot of them from besides you guys? Yeah, I mean, are you getting a lot of regional stuff, or is it a lot of Massachusetts?
Well, when we first started off in 2013, there wasn't a lot of breweries. There was probably like 5 breweries in Massachusetts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe 30, right? But so we got a lot of destination. We got people from Rhode Island. We got people from North Shore, Massachusetts, South Shore, Western Mass, from Worcester, from Boston. And it was an experience. You come in, you brew beer, it's an experience. And then we got the corporate events, of course. Because, breweries aren't busy on a Tuesday and Wednesday night. But Tuesday, Wednesday night, you got the corporate events, right? So like, hey, I'm going out with my company. We're doing a cool thing. We're making beer. We're going to put our company labels on it, and they're going to send it out to us, stuff like that. So, but mostly regional. Like nobody was coming out from it was basically Western Mass, North Shore, Rhode Island, and the odd person from Long Island. Even though Steve and Pete and we'll let you in, but take a COVID test before you come.
Actually, we have below 1% rating here down here, sir. So we're pretty good.
Fuck yeah.
But we also
sent that shit to Cali.
None of us are Yankee fans either, so we are open and welcome with open arms in the town of Boston, as we come to find out. I am a Mets fan, as you can see around here, which I think Bostonians usually let us have that 1 year 86 pass. And other than that, we just get pummeled all the time. So we're okay.
Now we do. Now we do. We didn't, growing up, I didn't take it so lightly. But now it's okay. We have 4 now, although we suck this year. So.
Yeah.
What is that? Who is that behind you, by
Pedro.
the way?
It's Pedro.
Oh, Jesus. I thought it was Cespedes maybe, but I can't see anything.
Pedro
Martinez. There you go.
There's a Bostonian as well.
That's right.
I might have another one here. I got to find the, what's his face? I don't have it here, right? Readily available. But I mean, it's. I have 2 good friends I grew up with in Amityville down here on Long Island. They both moved to Canton. So, they, of course, for the first few years they were there, brought home the Trillium. So that's how I got my Trillium influence. But they've taken me around over the course of the last 10 years or so, Castle Island, and a couple other places in and around. So we were probably Lamplighter. Lamplighter was another one we went to. So, there's some really great Boston's really, within the city limits or so, a great place to go brewery hopping. It's a destination. And to have one, and so what we were talking about on the car ride home as well is, how come New York or Long Island or New York City doesn't have a setup like Hopsters? I mean, it's just a fucking great idea. So many people would lose.
What are you
their
franchising,
minds.
Lee?
Yes, you should franchise
honestly,
in New York.
Yeah. So I listen. Like a couple of years ago, I went down in Midtown Manhattan. We tried to get a bunch of money and get it going, and because listen, nobody brews beer in Manhattan Island.
That's true.
It's not a brewery in Manhattan.
There are 3 breweries technically with a Manhattan address. ABC, Heartland, and there are more coming. Death Avenue was another one, and there's one more, I think. But you're right. Everyone's in the outer areas, so the Bronx, the Queens, the Brooklyn, and over in Jersey, or Staten Island as well. There's 3 or 4.
The real estate is only extravagant, not, you know.
Well, that's it. It's so expensive to be in Manhattan to do that. And for you to get your corporate level stuff like you were talking about, you'd probably have to be in Manhattan because that's where the business was. I don't know if it is still, but I don't know if everyone would want to leave Manhattan from all over the surrounding areas and just go to Queens to brew the beer. You know, that would be a tough sell. It's a little different layout than Boston is. So,
absolutely. I mean, we went down 2 years ago, me and my guys, and we talked to a bunch of investors. We looked at Midtown, a couple of places. We looked at Hudson Yards, down there. They need development, and honestly, it's tough. It's like, because I'm like, listen, we're not a craft brewer. We make money. Like you come in. We come in, we do you can come in with a corporation and spend 20 grand for 3 hours, right? And that's why, our rent in Boston, downtown Boston, is $35,000 a month, right?
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Right. Jeez. And we've been doing that for 3 years, right? It's like $3 million business.
Right.
So we go down to Midtown, we talk to the guys but honestly, it's like anything, unless you got a benefactor, unless you got someone who's going to throw a bunch of dough at you, the landlords are like, listen, like, this is what the deal is. We're $100 a square foot, 120 in Midtown. It's
too much.
It's not doable, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't doable a year ago.
And then you have to increase all your pricing, which right now, the way we saw it, we were saying, it's very affordable to go brew, the 3 of us to go brew as we did and get the 3 cases or so out of it. It was worth it to us to do that. But when you have to jack the price because of the rent, the space, the real estate, it may not be worth it. And then your $20,000 goes to $40,000. Now corporations are going, I can do other things with that. So it's tough. It's tough. It's like a balancing act.
Honestly, it was just getting somebody to, honestly, it's like anything, it's.
You don't want to get J-Lo and A-Rod? They didn't buy the
I'm
Mets today.
I'm working on it.
They didn't buy the Mets today, so they could definitely do it.
Yeah. And we looked at it. We did it. We went down there. We went down to Pennsylvania. We went down to Philly. We talked to a bunch of people in Philly about getting it going and stuff like that. But honestly, unless you got someone who's like, unless you got a big benefactor, then it's not happening. It's not happening.
I got a question, Feely. I was very interested when I first showed up a few weeks ago, and I saw the system that you guys had, at the Seaport, and I knew right away. I'm like, all right, this is not a brew pub. This is not where they're brewing on. There's something going on up here. And did you guys have somebody already have this in place, or did you guys say, hey, we have an idea, and you went to a company and had them build this for you?
Great question. So brew your own beer, right? You come in, you brew 3 cases of your own craft beer on that system, right? That started in Canada and Australia. So basically the tax, go buy a 12-pack of beer in Canada. See how much that costs. That's expensive. Save in Australia. So brew on premise was a way to dodge the tax laws for alcohol in Australia and in Canada. So you could go there and you would get 6 cases of beer and you would brew it yourself, have a great time with you guys. And it was pretty much like a light lager that you brewed at the time back then. But that was huge. And they're all over Canada. You go to Canada, like what we do in Canada, it's everywhere. Australia,
really?
It's everywhere. It's basically a tax dodge. So I looked at that and said, listen,
Great concept.
Yeah. So I said, listen.
The truth comes out.
Fucking genius, though, really.
So I said, listen, all right, it's fun to brew beer. It's fun to drink beer, and it's fun to eat food. So why didn't I take that concept where you come in, you brew that beer, people so in Australia, or in Canada, when you come to Hopsters, you brew 3 cases of beer. When you're in Australia and Canada, you go to these places, you brew 6 cases. So our beer is half the size, and we charge the same amount, but it's an experience.
Right.
You guys met Henry, right? Henry's taking you through the process. He's answering your questions. Where in Canada, it's like, okay, you know how to brew beer. There's the kettles. Go in there and good luck. Yeah.
So there was a company already that was selling this equipment in that way.
Yes. Well, I mean, everything is custom made. Like all that whole system is custom made in Canada. So we have, we bought 2 systems from them. The one that you saw, and then the other one that we had in Newton that we took out. But so basically, it's a custom design system. It's like $180,000, soup to nuts.
That's not terrible. I mean, that's for what we saw. I mean, how many kettles are on that floor there?
You have 12?
Yeah, we have 12.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
Yeah, no. And then we got a big, biotech company coming in. He got all the money from God, right? So like, it's like $20,000. Come in, brew.
Done.
So
and those were they're all steam driven.
Yeah, everything is steamed. It's we have everything's high pressure steam. Because basically you show up with 20 people, right? And you want to brew beer. You got high pressure steam. You can't do 15 beers.
You want to get that boiling quick.
You got absolutely steam. You got to get it going. You're like, people want to sit there. They want to drink. They want so we got to get it going. So we have and they make boilers specifically for Massachusetts that can get that high pressure boiler. It's I don't know. It's like maybe 2-3 horsepower. And with it goes up to 120 psi.
Yeah.
God forbid that it blew up. It take the whole building out. But they make them so you don't have a boiler operator, and that's part of our challenges that we had when we wanted to expand in Pennsylvania or New York. It's like you got a boiler, right? There's laws.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a high pressure boiler, like you have to have like a guy there 24/7 just sitting looking at the boiler. So.
Dave, really quick while you're there, so we discussing a lot of the business stuff, and I know your movie had a lot of interviews and in-depth discussions with brewers in that local area. Mm-hmm. Did they all get into that business model that they were looking at? Did they all discuss that kind of level? Lee's been very, very not translucent. What do you call it? No, but what do you say? Transparent about everything, which is awesome. Do you find that with the brewers as you interview them?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that they were incredibly transparent as far as lending sort of their reality of how they got in. Obviously, and I think Lee hit a home run with his model. I think there's obviously a huge market for home brewers. I mean, that's how the entire craft beer industry started. Once it was legal to do so. And I would say that, of the breweries that we had in our film, and I could probably attest to the rest of the breweries in our state and probably elsewhere too, most people do get in, as a home brewer, with the exception of maybe like Sean Larkin from Revival, who, wanted to be in culinary and he had an opportunity to become a brewer. And so he did it that way because he needed to survive financially at that point. But yeah, I mean, I think they were really, really open as far as, not just how they got in. So some of them, from an entrepreneurship standpoint, for example, like I'm wearing the Foolproof Brewing Company shirt right now in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Nick Garrison home brewed, and then people at his wedding thought it was good. And he probably could have gone into a variety of different industries, but he thought that there was maybe some room for growth in craft beer. And so he took the leap. And so, yeah, I think that, home brewers are really kind of the heart and soul of this entire industry. And, Lee, I've enjoyed hearing you speak kind of your business model immensely. It's been really interesting.
It's fantastic, the thought process that goes into it. I mean, like you said, it's not just, your husband and your wife going in and saying, "Oh, cool, I got a gift certificate." There actually is people like us where I brought a brewer. I've homebrewed, and Pete's kind of done some small stuff around here, and we've had the show long enough that really sparked an interest for us. I'm sure you get a ton of homebrewers from the New England area coming into that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's we got Harvard Brewing School come in, and
great satellite brew.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, when we opened up in 2000, I mean, I don't know, like if you have a specific question for me, but ultimately,
I do. I actually do. Lee, has there been any person that you know of that's come in there to sort of test market their capabilities and sort of started a brewery off of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That you know of.
Yes. There's been a couple that came in. They did some test batches. They wanted to brew, but don't forget, it's all extract brewing too, right? So
sure.
It's not like we're doing a mash or anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's half mash.
But there is some
of
that.
Half extract, yeah.
Yeah. So there is some of that, but mostly it's just an experience. It's something fun to do. People are interested in craft beer, and yeah. So.
Well, Lee, I'll tell you this. We saw it as a marketing tool for us, to center around both this show and a future show around this process to have, content for. So I'm sure there's other areas of the industry and people in their own industries that feel that same way. Same thing with like a corporation. If they brewed or a family and they brewed for a wedding or they brewed for this, I think that, exactly opens up the market for everyone and everything to come through and brew something.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, like pre-COVID, like COVID fucked us, it's like, because we get calls all the time. Hey, I want to come in and I got 40 of my friends. We want to come in. We want to brew some beer. I'm like, you can't do that. COVID, it's 25 people. Like, you can't do it. And you've got to be 6 people at a table so you can't interact, right? So,
right.
So yeah, obviously, yeah. So that, pre-COVID, but, we were getting a lot of corporate events coming in and dropping kind of silly money. And, well, it's silly because they get a great experience, but we've had challenges. I mean, we have a brewery, we can beer, we distribute the beer, but we had challenges with that too, because you can't be everything and anything, right? So we obviously were a brew pub, right? So obviously when people come in, like they want great food, and so brew pubs ultimately, right? Back in the day, brew pubs were, restaurants that brewed their own beer.
Right.
And, I don't know of any like brew pub chains that really got traction and took off,
We did see a John Harvard's.
John Harvard's, yeah.
On the way up to you.
Yeah.
Actually on the way home, right? But even though, I mean, we lost the 2 here in New York. We had one out here on the island and one in closer to the city, and they're both gone. So they didn't survive the craft beer wave because there was too much better beer.
I believe that Union Station in Providence is John Harvard as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm almost certain they are. When
I think a lot of the New England ones survived, but the ones down here did not.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, there's an amazing. They're not a brewery, but they're a craft brew pub in DC called Churchkey. You guys may have heard of it.
Yep, heard of it.
But they're putting together an incredible artisan craft beer experience with incredible food.
Right.
Amazing food. So how do you, as a brewery, incorporate that incredible food, but also brew beer on premise? And I think that's the next challenge is like, I drink beer every day. I love food.
As do I.
Yes. But food, come on, guys. Food touches the heart. You know what I mean? If you have like an incredible meal, you're like, oh my fucking God, that tastes incredible. And you can go to Trillium, you can go to Treehouse, you can go to, whatever, right? And beer's incredible. But like, there's something about food that touches the heart that I don't know if beer can get there. And I think for brew pubs, being able to, curate an incredible craft beer experience with amazing food, that's the key. And that's the key for brew pubs going forward is how do you, so I got James Beard Award chef right now, post-COVID, creating an incredible.
Couldn't tell by the food that we got. No way I could tell that. God damn, it was good.
Right? James Beard, like the guy's like rock star, right? Because when you go to a brew pub, right, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a burger, I'm gonna get nachos, I'm gonna get wings, yada yada, right? So I said, listen, I'm done with the wings and the fucking beer. I'm like, let's get a James Beard guy in here to connect the food. He's actually a home brewer too, funny enough.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but he's a little like, we show him the whole brewing, the commercial brewing piece, and he kind of like doesn't know what to think. Like, he's like, okay, that's fucking weird. Like, whatever, like, where's my 5-gallon, like, cowboy, right?
Yeah.
Like, but
can I make beer cheese out of that?
Exactly. But that's kind of like, I think is like something for me is like, people want a great beer, but if you're a brew pub, you got to have, and then you look at people like, you look at even like Medusa in Hudson, Mass, doing incredible beer. You look at, you look at even like, Night Shift, those guys have done a great job. Obviously, you're looking at Treehouse. I mean, when I visited Treehouse in 2012, those guys were brewing on like a 15-gallon set. It was like, I'm like, guys, like, Nate, show me your brew house. This is like 2012. I'm like, Nate, show me your brew house. He's like, yeah. All right.
There it is.
It's like literally like 5 square feet. You know what I mean? Like, but they had something. They had like, you look at those guys and they were like, they had something. Like, okay, they had a plumber. All right. They had a plumber. But, like even they were bottling Julius and stuff like that. And, they had something. And so, so I guess my point is like, I'm looking at opening up a new spot out in the western suburbs.
Ah, all right.
It's because like people, they want to take a journey, right? They want to, it's like, freaking, Odyssey, right? From like Tacoma, right? I want to take a journey. I'm going to Treehouse. I'm going to like whatever. Like I'm taking this journey. I'm going to line up for like 6 days. I'm going to get I'm going to spend $800 on a case of beer and, and so for us who are like urban breweries, there's something about going somewhere and having a journey and they have great beer, don't get me wrong, but and that's something I think for breweries to think about as they open up. Do they want to be urban brew pubs, or do they want to, open up a farm somewhere and create the mystique, in that area too? I don't know.
Yeah, there's room for both of those. Here in New York, we have amazing breweries in the city area. And then you go upstate, and then there's, Suarez, and then there's Plan B, and then there's Equilibrium, which isn't quite in the rural area. But they got the farm breweries up there, which are Heritage Hill, another brew pub up in New York State. Just crazy, versatility. And you're right. One of the things that I really do enjoy, besides this past weekend and visiting a whole bunch of places that I haven't been, is taking that journey, is going on those trips and going like planning out we stop there. They open at 12. They don't open till 4, and they're open till 12. So there's my 3 on the way up, and then let's see what's going on the way back. It actually, to me, I say it all the time. It's like Pokemon. I want to collect them all. I want to taste everything I can and get a little bit of experience from everywhere. It's fun. Absolutely. It's a great time.
Yeah.
And you provide that, especially in the Seaport area when you have a lot of options. I think we hit up everything in our immediate vicinity, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hit up Harpoon, Hopsters, Trillium.
Lord Hobo wasn't open yet, so
right, and then a bottle shop or two, and we were good. Very cool. Listen, I don't want to hold you, nor do I want to lose you, Lee. But I want to get to Dave and talk a little bit about Rhode Island beers. So up to you if you want to hang out. You let me know.
I'm listening.
Sweet.
If I disappear, then
it is
time to you guys.
I'll give you the big plug at the end, regardless. So don't worry.
Nice.
Don't feel obligated.
I gotta take the dog for a walk.
Yeah. Well, I hear you. My wife. That's why I just escaped out of the room while you were talking before. The dog had to go for a walk, but then there was some shenanigans going on.
Get on the rug.
No. She's doing really good.
Before I forget, Lee, thank you so much for making seltzers that you canned, because that was able for me to bring some of those home, and I didn't get in as much trouble as I could have for the amount of beer that I brought home with me.
Nice.
So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Steve definitely won the challenge of bringing home the most beer because we had to both get out of the car and help him.
$500 worth of beer.
Yeah.
Nice. That way.
From
Did
everywhere.
I drop off those 2 kegs today, Steve?
Allegedly. It's all alleged.
It's alleged. Never really happened.
Dirty rumor.
I brought home sours and Berliner Weisses specifically for the wife, so I didn't get in trouble.
There you go. Nice.
And I know Pete has a bunch of stuff that he's just going to point
all
out.
the lagers. Fuck you all in your ales.
He's a big lager fan. I want to go to the journey because your movie, Dave, kind of sparked that interest in how people can go to a state and really explore all the levels of. He left. All right, that's fine. Bye, Lee. I didn't want to hold him, nor did I want to lose him.
Lee. Yeah.
No, he told us that he couldn't stick around for too long, and we got it. So I told him,
like, who's this douche from Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Screw them.
That's nice.
In his fucking basement with a goddamn treadmill behind him.
With a treadmill I don't use.
Clothing rack.
Exactly. That's right.
So, I mean, Rhode Island is like one of those special places because there's a bunch of great breweries. People don't really realize the scene that's up there. Give us a little background about the film. How did that come to be? How did you decide that you wanted to go through that process? And then give us a little overview of give us the trailer version of the film.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the sizzle reel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking down at the two before I start the two beers that I'm drinking, both called the Craft Rhode Island. One was done by Line Cider Brewing Company, and the other by Buttonwoods Brewing Company, which are two of our finer breweries in the state. And unfortunately, Buttonwoods actually is in our movie. I didn't know Morgan very well when we were kind of Buttonwoods.
Ah, you button hooked me, Dad. I saw that. Regular Starbucks. We listened to the Adam Sandler tape on the way up, so we.
Oh, okay,
all the quotes from the weekend.
I was just thinking about Adam Sandler, his like in 1996, whatever the one with the piece of shit car and all of that. Yeah. I literally was just thinking about that the other day. Here we are, we're talking about Nintendo and Adam Sandler in 1996, but yeah, so I appreciate more. I know I haven't answered anything about your question yet, Mike, but I will.
No
so I appreciate Morgan kind of jumping in and doing a beer for us as well. This is how we
fill 45 more minutes, Dave. This is how we.
There you go. This is actually how I teach my classes too. I'm a history teacher in Providence, and so I just kind of go off on a tangent about something, then class ends, and we live to fight another day. So,
speaking of tangents, are you guys going back full time?
Oh, we started today. Yeah, not with students, but we're doing some PD this week, and students come back next week. So,
and are the students coming back full, or are they doing hybrid? They're doing back and forth A and B?
Yeah, we're doing hybrid. We're going. Yep, exactly. We're doing half and half, and so
I'm a teacher
but
as well.
They'll know about the movie. Oh, good, nice, excellent.
I teach audio production.
Are you excellent? Nice.
Elementary ed certified, but teach high school kids, 11th to 12th grade.
There you go. See,
they're all the same.
You know the battle.
Yeah,
they are. Yeah, kinda. Yeah,
very
just
true.
puberty happens.
Yeah.
So, but so anyway, but yeah. So to answer the question about the how the movie kind of came about. So I own 11 Design, which is a media marketing firm in Providence. I own it with my siblings, and my background, as I just said, is in history, and I teach AP government as well. And so I have a background in kind of political science. So we were doing a lot of political work, and then I'll cut the story really short. We were doing some stuff for local PBS, Rhode Island PBS, doing some stuff for them, and they had just come into a boatload of money from selling their signal. And their director of production asked if I had any ideas because we had a drone reel on PBS, and I was not this is only 2017 now. I wasn't the hugest craft beer fan at that time. I was still drinking the larger craft brands like Sierra Nevada and Sam Adams and Harpoon,
Doesn't make
which
you a bad
I
person.
still enjoy. It doesn't, no, and those guys are great and they paved the way. But I was like, I wanted to, as someone who appreciates history and sort of research and learning, I wanted to learn more about what the things that I've heard about. I'd heard about Foolproof, for example, the shirt I'm wearing. And so I wanted to learn more. It was a great idea. Long story short, we did a pilot, which they asked us to do, and then they completely stiffed us and wanted us to do the movie for free. And we didn't say F you, but that's how I felt. And we just continued on and did it on our own. We ended up submitting a grand prize in the major category. It's an Oscar qualifying. You automatically qualify for the Oscars.
Yep.
We did win a grand prize, not in that category, but I'll still take it. And that set us off on our way, and we picked up an agent. And then there's a distribution company out in Portland, Oregon called KDMG, who Kyle Kismarek was the owner of that, is a huge craft beer fan. So it's like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, Portland, Oregon's huge.
And so now our move. Yeah, and pre-COVID, he had entertained us coming out there and kind of surveying what the Portland scene was like. And so right now, folks can check out our movie on Amazon Prime, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, and Fandango and Cox and Fios. It's on about 15 platforms across the U.S.
Cox.
And so to answer your Cox, exactly. So to answer your question, it was really just kind of I'm interested in storytelling. As you know, trying to entertain 15-year-olds for 5 hours a day. You have to you have to tell stories, and I just thought that this was a story that I wanted to learn more about. And fortunately, we are where we're at right now, which, as I said earlier, we're kind of looking at maybe investigating some other states. And I think Lee gave me some interesting leads into the Massachusetts scene. So we'll see what happens with that.
It is big time up there. I'll tell you, since I went to school up in New Hampshire, Manchester in 97, nice. I remember Magic Hat being readily available at that point. And then, like I said, my buddies had moved up there now close to almost, I'm going to say 12 years. And every time I go up there, there's more and more craft breweries where they live in and around. So we make treks. I'll go up there for a weekend and we'll hit up 4 new ones. And ones that just opened last week and ones that have been open for 7 years. And you're like, holy shit, this is crazy up here.
And I think that's, one of the things that we tried to tackle in the movie, with my background is, first of all, the laws in each state are different. So, you guys are talking about, spending $800 at Treehouse or wherever. And, in Rhode Island, as we pointed out in the movie, you just until last year, you couldn't actually take a full 16-ounce case home, which is insane. Like Connecticut is second worst in New England, and you can take at least 3 cases home from a brewery per day. In Connecticut and Rhode Island, we just got to 1. And so I'm fascinated by the different legislation in each state, because I suppose because we're so small, you could go to a number of them and spend $800, but that's not really the point. And
Jersey,
go ahead,
you couldn't get any growlers to go.
Yeah.
But you could go to a distributor and get the growler.
Isn't that insane?
Is that the silliest rule in Rhode Island as far as laws?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pete. I don't know if I'm sure that there's a bunch of other asinine laws and antiquated laws that date back to Prohibition. But
what a great word.
It is. It's completely asinine, and I've said this somewhere else that I think it's just a lack of understanding and just like I'm fascinated by kind of like self audits nowadays because there's a lot of things we're working on where sometimes you just don't look at stuff for years and sometimes decades, and they're there because of that. And I think, from a standpoint of wanting Rhode Island to succeed, like you see Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Vermont, which are unlimited, and we're competing with these guys. And it's like, why would I go to Rhode Island when I can just go, right through Rhode Island to another state and get more, And by the way, I don't think people should do that because we have Tilted Barn and Proclamation and a lot of these great breweries, which are in our movie, and but like until the laws change, we're really fighting an uphill battle, and it's a damn shame. It really is.
I'll tell you a quick story.
Go ahead.
Really quick, because you mentioned Tilted Barn, so I'm wearing Barn Shed, a local brewery here on Long Island. When they were just getting started, I spoke to the owner and head brewer Brian. Pete's phone ran out. Sorry, Steve's phone ran out.
I suck, huh? Everyone's dropping off now with me.
God, Dave.
I thought I was really interesting, actually.
So the Barn Shed's logo is like almost looks like Tilted Barn's logo.
Okay, yeah.
And I said to him the first time I met him, he had the hat on, he had the thing on, and I go, "Oh, Barn Shed, isn't that up in Rhode Island?" And
oh,
he goes,
nice, yeah.
No, we're 5 fucking minutes from here. I'm like,
yeah. Well, they get Long Island and Rhode Island mixed up all the time, right? So.
But I mean, this was a local. This guy's in Bethpage.
Okay, yeah.
And I was working in Bethpage at the time.
Nice.
And I just felt like complete douche. But his logo looked very much like the Tilted Barn logo, and it has the word barn in it. So I totally fucked it up. But that's all right.
Oh, it happens. But I think you just actually hit on something interesting about, and Lee hey, Steve. Lee hit on this too, where, we're all fans of this scene now. I'm happy to, a member of this scene. And, the fact that so many are opening up and the fact that there's so much travel involved, like you can even be the biggest geek out there as far as the craft beer scene is concerned and still want to go and like, I find it hard to believe that most people on earth have gone to all 50 states and checked out that craft beer scene. And so it's almost like the gift that keeps on giving, where there's always a new story to tell. You could go and visit all the Rhode Island breweries in 2019, and then, when COVID ends, you can go back in 2021, and it might be an entirely different story, and the same for Mass and the same for New York and so on. And the other interesting thing is that, and we, found this obviously through doing the movie, is that most people, don't have a clue of how incredibly awesome this scene is. And I think Lee kind of spoke to that a little bit earlier, that like when you finally experience it, you want to have more of it, and it's just, and again, being interested in storytelling, like there's always a new story to tell. And I think that's the best part about this entire scene, or in the experiences as well, obviously.
Well, tell us a little bit about it. I mean, what are some of your favorites? What's the regionalized? Is it centralized around cities? Is it kind of spread out? What's the scene like in Rhode Island?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, interestingly, so my wife and I just moved from Providence. I lived in Providence my entire adult life. I teach in Providence. And, Providence is not the hugest city, but I think it's the second largest city in New England. Maybe Hartford and Providence are kind of second and third, like China and the U.S. as far as country, geographically is concerned, depending on who you ask. But China. But Providence actually doesn't have as many
craft breweries there.
Providence doesn't have as many. No. You have Union Station, you have Trinity, which are brew pubs, and then you have Long Live, Beer on Earth. And then there's a couple new ones that are popping up, but you would think that there would be more. If you go to San Diego, or obviously it's a bigger city, but like there's a lot of breweries in cities. In Rhode Island, where we just moved is West Kingston, which is part of South Kingstown. I live now within 5 miles of Tilted Barn, a mile and a half of Shades On Brewing Company, probably 5 miles from Whalers, and then like maybe 7 miles from Linesider. So like I would argue that I'm actually closer to more breweries than most people in the state, and I live in a really rural part of the state now. But again, the advantage of Rhode Island is that it's so small that it's basically like a proxy for Boston. So if you want to argue that there's 30 breweries in Rhode Island, I don't know how many off the top of my head there are in Boston, but it's probably the same. But yeah, you would think that in Providence there'd be like 10 of them, but there's not. There's only like 4. So the state is kind of spread out for as spread out as it could be. But at the same time, people can come down here and check out quite a few of them in one weekend, which I think is an advantage that we have.
Now, which and stop me if I forget which one it was, but Road Soda. We didn't cover in. That's I might be completely off on this, but that sounds like it might be something from Newport Craft, but we didn't. Newport sounds about right. Yes.
Or Newport's formerly. Yeah, it used to be Newport Storm, then they rebranded as Newport Craft, and they had the Road Rage and then Road Trip. Yep. So they've kind of tackled that RHODE sort of thing, and then gone off. But yeah, and actually they just sold. So the guy that's in our movie, Brent Ryan, who's one of the founders of Newport Storm in 1999, they were bought out, and so Brent actually isn't a part of their company anymore. But and I don't actually know the new guys, but I think that they're doing a pretty good job, with kind of perpetuating that brand, throughout the state. But in COVID, it's kind of hard to figure out who's doing well and who's not, because everyone's kind of up against it.
I remember, and going back to your point about the limits on what you can take to go.
Yeah.
So we had a intern or / board op for our radio station, Matt Norton. Used to be part of another radio show on our platform. And he went up to Rhode Island, and he knew I was into craft beer. So he was at Storm, and he went to go grab some road sodas. And I said, grab as many as you can.
Yeah.
But by the time he was done with him and his girlfriend and I think his dad, he could only get me like a 6-pack of road sodas. And I'm like, really? He goes, that's all I was allowed to take. And I remember that. That was, I'm going to say, like 6 years ago. So, yeah, it's.
So that's interesting because that would have been, 2014, 2013. I don't even know what day or year it is. I'm sure you feel the same way being a teacher, right? But, yeah, I mean, in 2013, as our movie speaks, talks about, at that time, you could only take a growler home, like 72 ounces of beer, and you could only have like tastings in the brewery. And then in 2016, they passed a law which allowed for 36 ounces on site and then 288 ounces off site. And so, like, again, I'll use the term again, asinine. Like, think about that, because part of this is grabbing that stuff. As that's kind of how Treehouse grew, by the way, is that people were trading Treehouse across the country, and that's how that sort of happened. And if you're only able to grab what you could consume probably in one day, you're not going to share it out with people. No. You could probably leave, go back, come back in, but then you're breaking the law, and what happens if people crack down on it? So I don't know. A good idea might be to just up the limits. Like, I've said this elsewhere that, we have restaurants and liquor stores and stuff like that in Rhode Island. And that's the argument that people make as to why we can't raise the limits. But I'm pretty certain that that's the case in Massachusetts and New York and elsewhere. Like, they have restaurants there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, why here?
No.
No.
Just
oh,
pizza
okay.
places.
I'm sorry. I thought
just pizza places and bagel shops. That's all it's allowed in New York. I'm sorry.
So maybe Massachusetts is a better example where there's restaurants there, but like the arguments that they make are just really quite stupid, if you ask me, in terms of why we can't even be tied for the worst with Connecticut, and think about what that would do, to the whole scene in Rhode Island. And with that, or I should say, despite that, like, we do have the Tilted Barns, who people will literally travel across the country to check it out, and they're just opening up a new brewery within a couple months from now, and I'm sure they'll do well. But like, I really don't want to only have like 1 or 2 breweries that exist because our laws are stupid. So
what is
we'll
the one brewery
happens.
like? I would equate Two Roads in Connecticut as being the one that kind of opened up a little more legislation for Connecticut to do a little more brewery-based selling and stuff like that. What was the one in Rhode Island that really kind of stands out, that's kind of led the way?
Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit here to Brent Ryan, who's, again, the founder of Newport Craft, where he was, they were the only show in town for for 6 years, because they started in 99, and then Narragansett, bought the brand back in 2005.
Yeah.
And then we had some brew pubs, prior to that, like I said, Trinity and Union Station and Coddington. But Brent was also the president of the Rhode Island Brewers Guild for a long, long time, and I know that he worked on legislation for quite a period of time to kind of move that forward. And I think once he gained some allies, when in 2014, I think a lot of people speak to that 2012 to 2014 range in Massachusetts, and I'm not familiar with New York, but I'm guessing probably the same thing. And then in Rhode Island, that's when you had like Foolproof and Revival and Proclamation and Tilted and all that stuff, and so you gain allies. And now it makes sense to kind of move the ball forward. But, I think without Brent, that might not have happened as quickly as it did. And so I give him a lot of credit for that.
And it's such a small state that I'm sure the Craft Beer Brewers Guild really is tight. And so they can really help push along the thing. What did you find within the movie that was very surprising about the Rhode Island scene?
When before you start doing it, really any project, when you're looking at an industry and you have competitors, you think that they're competing with one another, and they're looking to drive each other out of business. And one of the first things that Nick Garrison said from Foolproof, because he was the first one that we interviewed, is he used the phrase or the term co-opetition. So combination of cooperation and competition. And I think that's in a good way, like something that we learned is that like these guys, most of them, and I would probably, I don't think anyone's an enemy, I'll put it that way, but like, some people are closer with others, but even the entire industry in the state are friends with one another. I think, I forget who the brewery was that ran out of some stuff the other day, but like Morgan from Buttonwoods, again, who's not in our movie, but has become a good friend of ours, like lent his canning line to these guys to be able to like put out their product. And when we were, I was hanging out at Foolproof a couple of years ago, and Sean Larkin from Revival came in, and he was buying some grains from Nick Garrison at Foolproof. And, again, it's probably similar in the rest of the states as well, but I think the brewing community in general is exactly that. It's a community, and these guys don't want the others to fall by the wayside. I think they want to prop them up, as Lee said. Rising tide raises all boats. And from our experiences, they're not just going to go to one brewery. Like, I don't only go to Tilted Barn. Since COVID's happened, I have tried to rotate the breweries that are, first of all, in our film, because I'm friendlier with those guys and gals, Dave. By the way.
It takes a lot to rotate.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
But I'm serious, because that's what we tried to do too. We all tried to, go to our relatively local places, and then as much as we can, patronize anything that we could just to keep them open. Because honestly, when this does finally go away, I want that to be there still, so I can go enjoy.
That's exactly it. And we're trying to get that point across. And people have asked me a lot of times, like, who the best brewery in the state is. And I would probably argue that according to most people, and probably according to me, it's probably Tilted Barn, right? Like, and they're 5 miles from my house.
Yeah,
they're
that's
one of the
one
closest breweries
most
to my house.
people would know.
Right. Like, I should go to Tilted.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, that's who you know. And like, I should go there all the time to get my beer. And I've gone there several times, but I've also gone to, again, I want to make sure that all of them are there, because at the same time, whereas Tilted across the board is probably the best, like maybe there's a brewery in Rhode Island that makes the best Pilsner, another one that makes the best sour, and so on. And I want all of those options to be there, because you don't just want to go to one spot. So
it's okay to be a beer whore, Dave.
I understand, Steve. Fine. I know. I'm trying. I'm trying.
We're gonna try to change the logo to the Wort, the beer with the beer whores. That's
with the beer whores, yeah. And I'll join you weekly. So
that's a totally different. I don't think we have the beer whores on the podcast.
No, we haven't.
That's a totally different show.
No,
well,
we've had a lot of people on, but not the beer whores.
We are a marketing firm, so if you guys want to go down that road, we can discuss this later.
So you mentioned having the potential to do a second round here, and I know you're kind of exploring possibilities. Mm-hmm. Would you do like a state by state, or are you going to stay regional? What's the thought process?
It's a great question. I think we're fortunately for us, we do have a representative, and we do have distribution, and so it's a lot easier this time around than it was prior to complete. I didn't think we'd necessarily even complete the first movie, let alone win a prize and blah blah blah. But here we are, and we're fortunate to be there. Just with my background, I think the best approach is probably, because there's so many people that still don't yet know about the scene across the country. Like, I think that the tourism factor, plus like just visits to the breweries and experiencing like these different personalities, is kind of intriguing. At the same time, maybe there's another formula that's out there that that would work as well. But I was actually, I know that the New England style IPA is crazy, but we're also in New England, and it's interesting to hear people that aren't in New England talk about the New England IPA and how like insane they go for it, because now it's kind of commonplace for us. So maybe I think if we were to do a second film, obviously we wouldn't exactly replicate the Rhode Island film, because it's kind of been there, done that. So we need to evolve somehow. So is it talking about styles? Is it talking about individual breweries? I don't know exactly what the next phase is, but I think that we have a lot more options now since we've completed the first one, and so we'll see where that takes us.
I'll pitch you an idea. Here it is, quick. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
Rick Steves. You know Rick Steves?
Mm-hmm.
Rick Steves goes to Boston.
I am very, very familiar with Rick Steves. I talk about Rick Steves in my class
all the time, right?
I love he's like the dorkiest, awesome guy. I'd give him a hug if I saw him, after COVID. So
When I see him drinking German lagers and talking about it, I immediately oh, okay, great, the countryside, the Baron von whatever in that house, and then he goes, and then we had some Baltic porters. I'm like, wait, what? The Rick Steves drinking Baltic porters? This is awesome. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get Rick Steves
and smoking weed too, by the way.
I know. I've watched them all. PBS is good.
Now
for
Mike's
something.
interested.
I'm Rick Steves.
Easy
Hi.
guy. Hi, how's everybody doing? In 1844. So the Rick Steves goes to Boston, does the Paul Revere kind of Boston Tea Party trail, and then instead of brings the history in, but then also ties in the local brewery that's around that area now.
I could die a happy man if I were able to get Rick Steves to host my show. Honestly,
he's open. He's not doing anything.
And
he's not
right
doing
now,
thing.
considering the fact that we're all banned from the rest of the world right now, you're actually right. And
he's sitting in his home
think about his show, right? He is the dorkiest guy ever, but he appeals to everybody because there's just something about what he does that's fascinating. And maybe it's the travel, maybe it's his dorkiness. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm kind of with you on that as far as, he's captivating, way more than I am, that's for sure. So we'll see what like I said, I think we have some options now, especially in New England with so many great states for beer. I think in this COVID time, if we were to pull something off, we actually could probably do it. So that'll be nice.
There are several, by the way, Instagram accounts with Rick Steves. One is called Rick Steves Europe, which is accredited by Instagram. But then there's several that are not accredited by Instagram. Let's go down that path for
posers.
One is called Fuck Rick Steves.
Oh my God!
Which
it's not like Rick Steves porn or something, is it?
I don't know, but there's a peach emoji.
Well, is there an account for that?
Yeah. Well, wait, I'm getting to there. Then there's Rick Steves, Oh Baby.
Now we're talking.
That is interesting.
We have Rick Steves Adventures, which has just some stills. And then
what kind of adventures?
All sorts of things. And then Rick Steves Fans, which looks like they have him classified as a fashion model. So this is fan-damn-tastic. I like this one. I think I'm going to follow this one. But I mean,
I think you should.
But someone like that. So we interviewed Matt Archambault, who did a great series for New York State. He's on Instagram. He's called Beer Practice, and he did a great thing with Maya. They went around to New York State in 5 or 6 different regions in New York State and interviewed a brewery and talked to them and blah blah. So Matt has a lot of great background. I would think if you want someone to be like the host, he is the guy. I'm telling you, he worked for Fifth Hammer Brewing Company in Queens.
Nice.
He has a lot of knowledge about the brewing community.
Yep.
You take him, you send him to wherever the hell you want to go, and he will come off like a gem on screen. He is the modern day Rick Steves.
I would love to have the modern day Rick Steves. That's for sure.
There's the big pitch.
I like it. I appreciate that. And, every one of these that we do, there's again, I'll cite Lee, learned a lot from just listening to him and just kind of, I think part of what I do, especially with the, as we start doing the movie, that's wicked annoying, by the way, what I'm doing with my hand there. So I'm going to stop doing that. But the way that we were able to even complete the movie is relationship building. We started with Foolproof, and then, Nick put us in touch with Dave from Proclamation and, Mark Hellendrunk from Gansett and stuff like that. And so this whole journey is kind of going wherever it is that it's going to go.
Yeah.
And so if I talk to Matt, that's great.
I'm telling you, he has such knowledge.
I'm always happy to.
And he's also very exploratory. He loves finding out the history. He has that excitement for new information. Wants to learn.
Yeah.
And he's done it.
It's fascinating
he has it on his resume already.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yep, that's exactly it. And this whole experience is fascinating, and I think that's what it's all about. You guys just traveled up to check out Lee's place, and I'm sure you talked to folks there and stuff like that. And it's just another way to travel, and I think that's an important thing, and that doesn't get old ever. So But I'll definitely reach out to him and introduce
definitely.
myself.
And by talking to people,
Yeah.
you mean walking along the sidewalk and yelling at a couple enjoying their dinner, saying, "How's everything going tonight?"
That depends on how many beers you've had,
That is
or maybe
true.
not, I suppose. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's
Who did
exactly.
that?
Yeah.
I don't know who did that. Was that you,
Nobody
Steve?
did that.
But they were very cordial. They said, "Everything's great. Thanks you very
That
much."
guy was so happy. He was like, "Oh, thank you. Yeah, very good."
He was taken aback.
Honestly, people just want human interaction nnowadays. So
Yes.
I think you could probably tell someone to go F themselves and they'll give you a hug.
They're
So
like, "Thank you so much for talking to me."
Different times now.
The
Trapped at my house.
brewer Henry that actually helped us brew the beer at Hopsters. We actually were like, "All right, bro, look, we don't think you're happy doing this."
I'm still not convinced.
I think he is.
He was like really like so happy to talk to us, and we were like, "Is this an act?" But he was like, "Look, I work in the other brewery where I walk in, I go, 'Hello, tank. Hello, keg washer. Hello, kegs,' and I don't talk to anybody for hours." So he goes, "I really need it. I need to be a part of people's lives for a little bit." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah,
makes sense.
I don't believe him.
I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
Steve, think about what you just said, right? If these breweries or restaurants too, by the way, are able to survive, for however long this lasts, like think about the day after things normalize, how insanely packed these places will be.
Oh my
right?
God.
So it's like
my
you
Lord.
just have to help them survive.
There's going to be
like it's going to be
straight
a
up oral
shit show
sex
as far
on
as
the
people.
bar. So much oral sex.
I would imagine that probably would be the case.
I mean, I'm just thinking about.
I think that's right. So
just think about the dating scene right now, because I had this thought process. Right, you're
Oh,
single.
God, I'd rather not.
No. But let's just say we're
who's
single.
single?
No, none of us.
Oh, you're single.
None of us.
Oh, okay.
None of us.
Wait, what?
No, none of us are single. So but let's go back like 10 to 15 years and say we're single.
Go back a few
How
years. Yeah.
tough would
Sure.
it be right now to get a date? Maybe not right
That's
this
a great
today,
question.
but like back
Yeah.
in March, April, May, where you're trying to play the field. And
Yeah.
I'm going to say for a guy, it's probably a lot easier. But for a girl, like you need somebody. Like this, I always felt like there's more girls that need people than guys need people.
I actually have friends that are single, and they're all going through this. Hey, I'm trying to do the COVID thing, but I just met this guy. And he seems really nice, but I'm trying to stay fucking 6 feet away from him. But how do you do anything then 6 feet apart? How does...
Yeah, it's
they
tough.
end up just talking to each other on a blanket in a park 6 feet away from each other. So, where'd you grow up?
So
This is interesting.
Don't do it.
That's like a Duggar sort of relationship, and then you court each other a few minutes later, and you're
Yes.
married and have a bunch of kids. So
It's not
yeah,
even
I'm
dating
glad-
anymore. It's courting. You're right.
Yeah, court. Yeah, I honestly hadn't heard. I heard that term like when we were reading 14th century stuff in high school, and then I hadn't heard it until my wife watches whatever the hell this show is. They had to rebrand it because the oldest one was like a diddler or whatever. But
boy.
now it's counting on, I
Oh,
guess.
no.
So yeah.
Oh.
And by the way, I called that. I said, as soon as I saw that guy, I was like, that guy is not what he says he is. And so, and I was right, by the way. And then they had, I know.
Don't they have like 37
Well,
kids? Odds are one of them is.
But Pete, the first one, he's the firstborn, and he's the one that was, abusing his sisters and so on and so forth. And then I'll add one more thing to this, by the way. They had another show on TLC because that's what they love to do about the Willis family, the Willis clan, and the dad. I said the same thing. I was like, that guy is a pedophile, and he ended up raping a 13-year-old. And then fleeing to Kentucky from Tennessee. The cops arrested him, and he's serving 40 years. So I'm 2 for 2 as far as calling out TLC, whatever.
And then
you
you
got like
or
you got like
pedos
a
or whatever.
pedophile
So.
radar going on for you.
So you came here
Apparently
for
I do, at least for TL.
Why don't you try the cookies? The cookies are delicious.
Yeah.
Do you know the username?
At least on TL.
John.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
Have a seat. I'm Chris Matthews. Is it Chris Matthews?
Didn't Chris? Oh my God, what's his last name now?
Oh, Chris Matthews had to go off the air for diddling assistants. Or
yes,
something,
I knew
so.
there was something there. Hold on, it's Chris.
Yeah, and also calling Bernie Sanders Vichy French.
Oh wow,
so,
yeah, that was.
No, what? Chris? Jesus, I can't think of
Does
his
it start
name
with an
now,
H?
but I know the guy you're talking.
Is it H?
Not Chris Hayes. Not Chris.
I know.
I know
We'll
who
get
you're talking about, but he got in trouble too. By the way, did you
Yes,
know
he did.
that?
Yes, he
Yeah,
also
he
had
got in
some
trouble
What was the
too.
name of that show?
How to Catch a
Nightline?
Predator.
How to Catch a Predator. Yeah. Well, I really am enjoying this conversation.
Chris
reminiscing
Hansen.
about
Chris Hansen. I knew it was an
Chris
H.
Hansen. Yeah.
Chris Hansen.
Yeah. See. Yeah.
I was there.
This is you guys
You
can
often
rebrand
overlook
your
Hansen,
podcast.
Hampton.
Only
Template.
one of the best reality shows besides Cheaters. Cheaters was like the first one
God,
ever.
that was
the
so
best.
awful.
Because it was
Like,
in the middle of the
in
night.
the best way, but like
Yeah.
just how like
I
that
just
South
like
Park
that he
episode,
actually
like where they go to
got-
the bottom of the ocean to try and raise the bar. Like
Yeah.
that's what I picture
Yep.
with that show. Like you to get worse for humanity than that. Like
Yeah.
you got to really fucking dig for that.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
speaking of which, I was just on Worst Beer Blog.
Yeah.
There's a Patchogue bar.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
no.
the appropriate. Yeah.
There we
Oh
go.
no.
They have like how you do like the boxes for the Super Bowl with the
Mhm.
score.
Yeah. Oh no.
New York versus Chicago for number of shootings over Labor Day weekend.
Oh no.
There we go.
Oh no.
Lovely.
So classy.
That's,
So classy.
that's not going to work out. And that's on Worst Beer Blog?
Well, of course it is.
Well,
Oh,
because
boy.
it's a bar and
Hey, Dave, have
Yeah.
any of the bars? Because I was reading to the guys on the way up to Boston, how many bars each week or each weekend or so get closed down. Are you getting a lot of those from your state legislator telling you what bars are violating the protocols that have been set in place for COVID era?
No, not from our state ledge. The governor has been doing some updates, and she hasn't named them specifically, but she, we had I guess it's an executive order that said that like at the bar area you had to close down by 11. Then a bunch of restaurants got kind of pissed off about that, and again, it's a small state, and so I think she's done a good job, by the way.
She's gotten a lot of credit for doing
sort
a
of-
very good job.
Yeah,
handling
she's
the
done a good
pandemic,
job, and it's a tough situation to manage. But no, we're not getting individual updates from bars that are sort of misbehaving. Every now and again on the news they'll be like, "Oh, 3 restaurants in Rhode Island violated X, Y, and Z," and that's kind of how we're getting our news. And this wasn't really the question, but I will say, regarding the breweries across the board, the Brewers Association said, this was back in March, that like 40% of the breweries in the United States might close if things didn't get better quickly.
Yep.
And
That's probably
it's
conservative.
already started.
Yeah.
It's already started.
Yeah, and it's horrible. And again, I would lump restaurants in there because it's kind of the same experience. And it's like, we need to get through this thing as quick. And I'm not, by the way, advocating like just going out and saying, "Oh, screw it, whoever died," like
Right.
Ivan Drago. If he dies, he dies. But like,
I like the reference.
I think that we need to. I have Rocky characters hanging up all over my classroom, by the way. But like, we need to do it in a smart way. We need to
boy.
support them as much as we can. Yeah. We need to get out of this thing. We really do, or else. I don't want to live in that world where there's.
We're fucked.
Yeah.
We
New York
actually
City
have
is never
We
going
have
to
several
open.
breweries on the island here that are actually just
Really?
holding on,
Already.
which is
Oh, yeah.
sad.
For
sucks.
some of the ones that we know that are in trouble, I'm surprised it took this long.
True, because there were probably missteps
They were in
beforehand.
Right.
and
They were in
now this just
rough
sunk
shape
it.
prior,
Yeah.
without a global pandemic. They
And
were.
then there were some
Right.
breweries that were so smart they got out before anything happened.
Which
Yeah.
one is that, Steve? Could we cross that off on the bingo card tonight?
I forget who that was.
I don't
Someone
know.
brought that up.
I don't
wondered,
know.
like,
Sure.
That's the
Oh,
one.
So-
Yahtzee.
So what did they just this we didn't really cover oversaturation in the movie, but like obviously people talk about it quite a bit. Was it they just saw the writing on the wall and they were like, let's get out while the getting's good, or
Well, I'll give you the. the
is it
heads
a
up.
conspiracy and they knew of a pandemic?
Well, no.
that was happening.
Steve
I
is,
think he knew. He seems like a shifty character. So
he's got his moments at times. No, I'll give you the
Oh,
lowdown.
Steve, is that you?
Yeah.
It'd be me.
He.
I'm pretty slow, for being a teacher. I'm a little bit slow on the uptake, but yeah, like is that's a true story? Like you had your brewery and then you're just like, I'm out.
We sold the brewery in February, Another.
Oh my God!
A company from Detroit picked it up the week prior to New York State shutting down.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
So what did you like? You don't need to be honest with me if you don't want to, but like, was it just time, or did you sort of feel like it was sort of
you know what it was? We were open for 7 years, and we had a really good following, and we won like GABF awards and World Beer Cup, and so it wasn't like we were making shitty beer, but we were in a bad area. We didn't have a good tasting room, and every time we turned around, there was another brewery opening up.
Right.
You know, and I was like, I'm not getting any younger, so
sure.
Let's cut our losses before it gets too late. And you know, we're really in debt, and it just so happened right as we did it, right after that COVID took over, and
wow.
I couldn't even imagine trying to what these guys are going through.
This is the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Nostradamus. We're here on GovsRadio.com. I mean,
that's it is crazy to think about. So I'll cite once again, you know, probably the two most well-known breweries in Rhode Island of Tilted Barn and then Proclamation, and both of them aren't open yet. You know, they're open for year to go. They're not open yet. You know, I think in both cases, you know, they have some employees that have some, you know, immunocompromised, if that's what you call it, and they just don't feel comfortable opening right now. And but they also have struggled quite a bit, and it's like, could you freaking imagine, again, folks that know at least about Proclamation, I could never imagine them closing. I mean, they're so important, they're so good.
Oh yeah.
And then national distro
like,
at this point. So
national, you're right, exactly. And it's like, but if those guys are struggling, like, think about people that aren't Proclamation and what they're going through, right? Like, it must be, again, a complete shit show. And you know, the loans will only take you so far, and it's just like, you know, as Lee pointed out, what did he say? He's at like 20% of what he was doing. Like, you can't survive on that.
Yeah.
And
let me tell you, when he was saying that, I was just like, holy shit, how are you still holding on?
Right.
Well, because
I'd make like $10,000 a year if I was, you know, like, it's crazy.
You
just
find
can't do
different
it.
ways to try to still bring in money. I mean, fortunately for them, they have the restaurant.
Rob a bank. Yeah.
They have they have
always
the
a
tables
viable
outside.
option.
I mean, they have a pretty big spot in the seaport. So if you keep those tables rotating between the tables outside, on the first floor by the bar, and then up top where the brewing is, you could probably do fine.
Right.
Like he was saying, though, the amount that they were doing a week compared to what they can do now.
Right.
I mean,
treading water.
It's keeping them open.
Yeah.
It's keeping them open, and it's keeping his employees, getting paid. But, you know, he still has to make some type of profit off it just for his family alone, and pays investors. And
absolutely.
That's a tough nut to fucking goddamn swallow, man.
So
and I don't know what it looks like on the other side. Like, I don't know if they'll, you know, obviously if breweries close, breweries will open once this is, you know, so all said and done. But it all depends on what the state. Right, yeah, but you know, again, it's like, if you have a boatload of money, like, you could just kind of buy all these brands up, and then and that kind of sucks, because you want more people to own breweries, because you want more people to have good paying jobs and all of that. You don't want just with all due respect to Mitt Romney, just the first name that came to mind, like,
there you go.
You know, him buying up all the breweries and owning all of them, right? Like seriously, that's not what you don't want. Rich people to just own all these microbreweries and then like make a bunch of money. You want people that started them to be able to exist and provide for their families. At least I do. You know, maybe I'm a bleeding heart liberal dickhead, but whatever.
Yeah, you certainly sound like one.
I do, right? I know. I did have a specialty drink at my wedding called the Bernie Sanders, by the way.
There you go.
But, although I wasn't, I was not on the Bernie train in 2020. I thought there were better options out there. So, but in 2016, all in on Bernie. So
we're there. Were there better options?
There haven't been better options since, in my opinion, Reagan. I haven't had a good
million.
I want Reagan
millionaires
back.
and billionaires. Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, honestly, at this point, dead Reagan would probably be better than what we have now.
There you go. Exactly.
I voted for the guy who didn't know what Aleppo was, and I have zero regrets.
There you go. Yeah, he also,
with a guy that has a poli-sci background, I'm assuming you knew who that was.
Did you see that he did an interview where they were talking about how pot causes heart attacks, and he faked a heart attack at the interview?
No.
Did you see? Yeah, I'll have to send it to you guys.
But that's classic Governor Johnson.
Yeah. Wow. I showed my students that, and they were like dying laughing. I was like, "You see what Gary Johnson just did?" And maybe won them some votes. So, but yeah. Anyway, I'm sure most people don't know what Aleppo is.
No,
but it's fair.
It was my favorite moment of the entire election season, by far.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm not going to go down politics today. I promise.
Good,
other than just mentioning Bernie.
We had fun with it. That was good.
We almost get ourselves in trouble every friggin'
every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
every 2 weeks. So,
but you know what?
What else is there though? I mean, honestly,
you guys are in New York and I'm in Rhode Island. None of our votes matter. So there's that.
Bingo. Thank you. Yep. Thank you for saying that. I can't vote in a fucking primary.
Fair enough.
Even if I could vote in a primary, it wouldn't fucking matter because we're so late in the calendar. And my vote in the general election counts for dick.
That's right.
You're one of
thank you, Dave.
4 or 5
support your mayoral races. Yeah, there you go. So, but I can't tell my students that they need to vote.
Yes,
they need to get used to it. So let's talk about beer again.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Right. You know what? I ask this every radio show. All right. So, what was the first beer that you can remember that really, like, you were like, wow, I really dig craft beer. What's your favorite style? And what's what you go to right now?
Those are 3 awesome questions. So this is a true story, by the way. I wasn't the hugest beer drinker until I actually turned of age. I did get absolutely blasted a couple times underage, and I think that probably deterred me from doing so. And then, as I think I mentioned this earlier, that I played hockey at the University of Rhode Island, and I was like a goody two shoes, and actually didn't party that much until I didn't play. Yeah, I didn't play my senior year, and then obviously that's when I was 21. So I started drinking, and we were drinking like the shittiest stuff that you could imagine. The Busch Lights and the Bud Lights, playing beer pong and stuff like that. But I remember, I talked about the Oktoberfest earlier in the show. I remember right as September, October rolled around, I would buy Sam Adams Boston Lager and Oktoberfest. Yep. And even at 21, I was like, this is better than the shit that we drank to party. And so I would cite that. And then from that sort of adulthood period when I started teaching, and then into 2012-ish, my go-to was probably Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and probably Heavy Seas Loose Cannon, right?
Oh yeah.
And I actually met Hugh Session. So my uncle is actually a brand manager for McLaughlin and Moran, which is a huge distributor in Rhode Island, and he had a dinner about a year ago, and Hugh Sisson from Heavy Seas was there, and awesome guy. And I didn't know he knew about our movie, but he's like, how's the movie going? And I was like, holy shit, this guy's a pretty big deal, and talked about our movie. So, but even before I knew him, I was a fan of Loose Cannon. So again, Sam, Harpoon, Sierra, and probably Heavy Seas. And then, once we started doing the movie, becoming friends with these guys, then you're starting to drink all the local stuff. To answer Steve's question, I just drank 2 raw double IPAs during this time on your show, and so I have they made beers for our movie. You have to drink those. And
yes, you do.
Those are awesome. But which is I'll never forget that. But at the same time, I think right now my palate is sort of moving towards I'd love to see a resurgence of pilsners and things like that, because I'm kind of into those sorts of beers right now. Yeah, right. So yeah, actually, 6 Point is one of the ones that I, if I don't buy Rhode Island, I like their pilsner quite a bit. Oh, yeah. And yep, the crisp is one of the ones that I'll go to if that's a pilsner that's being offered. And then as far as the Rhode Island beer scene, if there's a pilsner, I'll go for it, but I'll usually kind of buy a variety of stuff. I'm not huge into the stouts and the porters right now, but I'll rotate those in. I think Proclamation again makes a great stout. It's called Bros.
I've had it.
That's awesome. And yeah, like I think that's really killer. And so I think there's a time and a place.
I'm pretty sure it was in our Tavor pack. Now that I'm thinking about it. I might
Oh,
have it
nice,
somewhere
awesome.
here. They distribute through a bunch of those national distribution companies online.
Yeah, I think Bros is great, and again, not a lot of people are making pilsners even still. So if I see one, I'll get one. But there's so many IPAs out there that I'll probably always grab one of those as well, as we kind of, as I'm trying to support these guys.
Because
I don't know if that answered your question at all, but yeah,
close enough. It's close enough.
Yeah.
I do have one thing though. You mentioned Sam, and I have a story back when probably about 2014. I was going to a craft brewers conference.
Yep.
With my wife and I, and we get to go down and play, and I'm like, holy shit, it's Sam from freaking Sam Adams. He's getting on our plane.
Oh my god.
And we're going, we're going to the convention, and he's literally like 5 rows from me, and I through the whole flight I keep telling my wife.
Did you reach around through the seat and just grab his
If the guy next
bosom?
to him gets up, I am taking his spot, and I'm going to sit there the rest of the fucking flight. I don't care.
Did you smell his seat?
That up.
Did you smell his seat on the way out?
I kind of brushed up against him, and I sniffed my fingers. And...
There you go.
I think you just have to like bum rush him from behind, just like give him a hug. And just
He
gently
probably
whisper
wouldn't care.
something softly in his ear, like.
But
I
what's
love
cooler than that, on the same flight was Dee Snider from Twisted Sister.
You got to
So
smell
which
his
one
seat
do you
too.
pick, right? Like, yeah.
Smell
I'm
his
like,
seat.
I'm upset. If this plane goes down, 3 of the most important people around. Wait, 2 of the most important people around.
Yeah.
Problem is, your name wouldn't appear anywhere close to the top of the list
No.
on the flight
that's-
list.
That's awesome. But
It's so many
like,
other people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about like, with Jim Cook, like you have to just, again, if we end up doing something in Massachusetts, like I couldn't live with myself if we didn't try to actually access him and talk to him. Like, how could you not? You'd be doing a disservice if you didn't. And like, for as much as, we want the stuff that rips our faces off and the pillowy mouthfeel and stuff like that, like every now and again, I'll go back to the classics. And, from as far as my wife just walked in and she's giving me a weird look and telling me to,
She's
like,
doing laundry.
wrap it up.
It's
no stretching, wrap it up.
No, well, you know what? If I could have gone upstairs, then I could continue this.
If I could speak freely around here, this house is holding me back. We're all in our basements.
Outside, but it's completely, I know. Perfect, right? In my basement. So but I'll finish with saying this, that like, there's so many New Englands out there now that like I've started to kind of go back to the West Coast, and have a little bit more of a bitter style, and I'm kind of into that now as well. So
yeah, I love that's one of my favorites. It's a good piney, dank West Coast,
like Stone or something like that. Is one of the ones that I'll go
Pliny
to as well.
the Elder.
That as well.
Russian River.
There you go.
Dave,
So,
this has been awesome. I want to
You
have
like
you on
how my
again, and I want to like just connect you to
cut
everybody.
me off right now.
No. Well, I mean, I don't want your wife to beat you in front of the camera.
She won't do it in front of the cammer, guys.
But
she'll
as soon
do
as
it
it's
afterwards.
off.
So,
All right, so we got to
hand over to
keep him on as long as you can. We're saving his life. Dave,
I'd
I
love
want
to-
you to get your plugs in. I want you to tell us wherever everyone can find it, and get it and watch it, because it really is awesome. If you even watch the trailer, I think you had it up on YouTube. It really just hooks you in the minute you see it if you're a craft beer drinker. So give us the big plug.
Yeah, we're thank you for saying that. And you can see I actually changed my name on the Zoom to at that craft beer movie, which is our Instagram handle, and we're trying to build up that. The reason we're trying to build that up is because we're going to have some news coming pretty soon regarding what's in store next. And but for folks that want to check it out, I know we're on the East Coast, and so there's Comcast and Verizon FiOS and Cox and Amazon Prime. Yeah, but if people want to see what's available across the country, they can go on thecraftri.com. And there's a full menu of the viewing options out there, which again there's about 15 platforms.
Yeah.
And but everyone's got Amazon, so I probably would direct them to Amazon Prime, The Craft Rhode Island, and it's just the beginning, guys. So, Rhode Island's a small state. I think we're onto something, and rest assured there'll be some other material coming out as well.
Awesome.
Cool.
We want to really thank you for coming on and spending the time with us tonight.
Yeah,
and,
it's fun.
Fuck yeah.
I don't usually talk about Nintendo and pedophiles, so it's
wide variety of topics.
This is good.
Everything from pedophiles to the tools pedophile use to lure their victims.
Yes,
that's right.
Which
and
could
we
be
didn't even
and obscure political candidates. All that's welcome on the Wort, Dave.
We didn't even talk about white windowless vans either. So night vision goggles.
Those are my favorite.
So,
those are my favorite.
Yeah.
You look like a big girl, do you?
Great big fat person.
You're great big fat person.
I like that we all get the references too. So,
the Craft Rhode Island, check them out. It definitely on Amazon, and then anywhere else, go to Craft. Would you say craftri.com?
Craftri.com.
Yeah, perfect. Check it out. Lots of good information there, especially if you're taking a field trip or a weekend visit or a week-long visit. Stop through Rhode Island, and you're going to get some background information and get to see a little bit of the inside and the stuff that's going on. So
and
Dave,
especially
for coming
just
on.
a craft beer lover, just to see what's going down.
I appreciate it, guys.
We really want to thank Lee for coming on. He had to go walk his dog and change diapers, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
But he was awesome. And we're going to see him in a few weeks when we go pick up our beer. And for all the people that are still listening and still watching and will be listening to the podcast, we will be releasing this beer in a golden ticket type of event, just to let everybody know. So we're planning a date. We're going to invite only a couple of people, really close listeners of the show.
Please tell me we're making a chocolate bar to slip the golden ticket.
We're not. We're not nailing that shit out. Fuck that. I don't have the budget. No budget. Zero budget. We're going to be doing a social media post and DM to people, exclusive invitation only to taste the 2 brews that we did. If you haven't caught it, we are doing an Oktoberfest, and then we did an American wheat with both Mosaic and Citra. Very hopped up American wheat.
Hopping.
I look forward to all of the negative feedback.
Yes.
Nice.
Now, the best part was when I told Henry, who is helping us brew, I said, "Yeah, hey man, here's what we have: 10 ounces of Citra, 10 ounces of Mosaic." Yeah. And he looked at me with the look of, "That's a lot of hops," and I'm like, "Go big or go home, brother." He's like,
there you go.
Say no more.
Nice. I think we caught that on camera too. It's probably up on our Instagram IGTV, so check that out. There'll be a couple more videos released on that series because I got my gimbal and my iPhone 11 Pro Max. Nice. So now I'm doing some film shit, Dave. Fuck.
There you go. Uh-oh.
Who needs a red camera? I don't need that.
The gimbal was really limp though to begin with.
All right, relax.
Yeah. I mean, really.
Relax. A couple Red Bulls and a Cialis, and I was good to go.
Oh man!
But really appreciate Hopsters for having us and hosting us and coming in and being great sports, and everyone's awesome over there. So check them out, Hopsters at the Seaport in Massachusetts, Boston, and of course Dave and the Craft Rhode Island. I really appreciate everyone, man. This has been one
coming on, Dave.
fun
it,
fucking show.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
Fun. I'm happy to meet you guys, and I'd be happy to come back on when we have some more news for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
And
Cool.
actually, I got to hook you up with our buddies over at the Beers, Balls, and Business podcast. They really do well with you.
Cool.
They're based out of Rhode Island. One of the guys, Will, is from here on Long Island, and he moved
Those
up there.
fuckers haven't reached out to us yet.
I'll put you in touch. They may not know the deal. They don't
Be
know
wrong
the deal.
that shall be right, Dave.
Yeah, right. There
Nice.
you go. Steve, any last words before we get out of here?
Yeah, actually, anybody that knows Noble Savage Brewing over in Glade Cove, they're doing a GoFundMe. These guys could really use a little bit of our help. We don't want to really lose any of our breweries from Long Island, and these guys are, they're great over there. Make some really awesome beers. So go to GoFundMe, whatever you could give them to help them out, keep them going until they get back on their feet. Will definitely be well appreciated by them. Again, man, we got to keep our Long Island boys going that make some really good beer.
Keep the scene strong.
Absolutely.
Pete.
Don't forget to have your pet spayed or neutered.
This is The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com. Thanks for everyone for listening. We out.
Oh. And
Done. Click the mouse.
he's doing all the stuff. He's
Click
doing
the mouse.
Where's mine?
There we go.
There it is.
It's been
And now
3
we go.
hours and I don't even get a single beer.
You don't get shit.
New bumpers. I like it.
This is the Wort on GovsRadio.
You guys did a great